The board is changing, and Zhuo Fan is done waiting for enemies to make the first move. The servant who was once surrounded by danger is beginning to strike before the trap closes, and every faction watching him must decide whether he is a useful pawn or a disaster they awaken too late. Subscribe now for more ruthless cultivation revenge, because once Zhuo Fan starts moving, mercy is the first thing he leaves behind. In The Demonic Emperor Part 5, Zhuo Fan turns pressure into momentum. Old grudges tighten, new enemies step forward, and the path ahead demands more than survival. It demands that the demonic emperor show everyone what it means to strike first. Translator, Star Reader, Editor, P4553R. With his final words, the palms gushed out a tricolored mist. In a mere blink, it rotated around him like a tornado, obscuring his form. Zhuo Fan gave a cold laugh inside. Those from King Hall are focused on practicing poison, and just like Mary Woods, who focus on speed, their bodies aren't tempered at all. Their bodies were weak. And to cover it up, he hid in the mist at a safe distance. Too bad your trick won't work on me. His eyes flashed and Zhuo Fan charged, planning on wringing the punk's neck in one move. But he stopped soon after as he looked at the mist. He realized something. Damn, it's a trap. He came here to exact revenge for Zhuo Dandan, but in fact, he's been egged on to come here and probe me. If not, Drifting Flowers Edifice's men would have come to settle their disciples' matter. Why would they let this kid steal the limelight? Zhuo Fan breathed in, and his eyes returned to the usually calm and calculative look. Iris Overseer is unclear on who I am and tricked this kid into testing me. I can assume there are a few profound heaven experts already watching. Humph, not a bad plan. Zhuo Fan laughed coldly inside as he withdrew, no longer having the desire to kill in his eyes. Under these circumstances, he must not win no matter what. Ha ha ha, punk, weren't you cocky of your speed? Come on then. Yan Fu's egotistical voice came from inside the mist. Zhuo Fan tapped his chin with a faint smile. Ha ha ha, think I'm stupid? You come out if you dare. I don't believe you'll stay there for a lifetime. When you're out of Yuan Qi, I will put you in your place. Humph, you're sadly mistaken if you think the rainbow cloud palm is only used for defense. I will let you experience the perfect martial art. Whoosh, 3 tendrils of mist moved from the tornado, like hands, going after Zhuo Fan, their speed no less than his. Zhuo Fan ducked and dodged through the gaps in the attacks. But the tendrils suddenly turned and came from his back. Ha ha ha, now you see, punk. King Hall's rainbow cloud palm isn't just for defense. No matter what you do, you will still die. Yan Fu was cackling smugly while Zhuo Fan was dodging with contempt. Poison users were strong and weak at the same time. Before the poison was dispelled, the user would be invincible. But after, he was the weakest person ever. He'd be even weaker than a cultivator at the same stage. Among the 10 ancient emperors, not one relied on poison as their main path. The King Hall was so stuck up because of this technique, because there hadn't been anyone who could counter it. Humph, once I deal with your palm technique, the King Hall will be kicked out of the 7 houses. See how you'll cry then. As for now, Humph, I'll endure. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth. But his silence only worked to bolster Yan Fu's haughty attitude, thinking he was scared. Punk, don't think you can mess with 7 noble houses just because you're a bit stronger than average. You might not care about the rest of them, but let me tell you, when provoking King Hall, all that you'll receive is death. The hell, when did I go and do that? Didn't you pick on me on purpose? Gasping, Zhuo Fan clenched his fists. This punk is too damn patronizing. I might fake defeat, but not before I let him have a small taste. At this thought, Zhuo Fan stopped his running, as if tired. Yan Fu was thrilled, sending the red, yellow, and green tendrils of poisonous mist right for him. But Zhuo Fan squinted, and with a loud bang, he charged through the 3 tendrils of poison and into the mist like an artillery shell. Yan Fu could foresee what Zhuo Fan was planning to do and became startled. He was preparing to move out of the way, but he was late to react, and Zhuo Fan was already before him, his hand clutching at his neck. Son of a bitch, if poison is so great, then you and I will die together then. Poison seeped into his body, and Zhuo Fan's face alternated between red, yellow, and green. His mouth and nose were bleeding constantly, but he couldn't care less, kicking Yan Fu in the chest. Bones cracked with a crisp sound, and Yan Fu spat blood. His eyes were filled with fright. He couldn't believe there was a man who didn't fear poison and charge in with such determination. Most people would have hesitated in face of a poison mist, but who knew Zhuo Fan to be the exception. His method was that of staunch determination, choosing death for both of them. Was Yan Fu about to meet his end? Lunatic, you're truly insane. Yan Fu was going hysterical, watching dark blood flow freely from Zhuo Fan's face. Grinning, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with a crazed look. He, I am crazy. Since I'm going to die, I'm going to take you down first and avenge myself. Zhuo Fan kicked Yan Fu's chest 3 more times, breaking all his ribs. Yan Fu was itching to cry his heart out from all the pain, but this was just the start. Before he could make a sound, Zhuo Fan grabbed his skull and slapped him a dozen or so times. The sharp sounds echoed on the street as Yan Fu's teeth were flung with each slap. His eyes were wet but had no energy to even cry. The immense pain stabbed into his heart and all he could do was whimper. Zhuo Dandan and the Dong siblings who came out of the tavern stared in shock. Zhuo Dandan even covered her mouth, unable to believe what she saw. In reality, Yan Fu's injuries were superficial, hardly enough to kill him, while Zhuo Fan had poison coursing through him and his life was seeping fast out of his body. It wouldn't be long before he'd succumb to it and die. However, from the two's interaction, it looked more like Zhuo Fan was the winner and was dealing heavy killing blows, while Yan Fu was akin to a loser kowtowing for forgiveness. This can't be, Zhuo Dandan watched with mixed feelings as Zhuo Fan was nearing ever closer to death yet stronger than ever. He was clearly dying, yet in his final moments, he was the strongest in the world. She never saw a man like this, not once. Her heart was suddenly seized by regret, actually hoping Zhuo Fan would live on. Yet she was clear that once poisoned by Pill King Hall, no one could survive, the rest of the 7 houses included. This was the terror instilled by the Pill King Hall. Didn't you say your Pill King Hall's martial arts are perfect? Didn't you want to kill me? Humph, we will both go down today, and all that's left is to see who is going to have a quicker death. Zhuo Fan yanked Yan Fu by the hair, his body trembling from the poison reaching his organs. He didn't have much time, yet his smile was as crazed as before, slamming Yan Fu into the ground. Even if Yan Fu survived this ordeal, it would leave him with permanent scarring. Stop! A gale knocked Zhuo Fan flying as a green-robed elderly drifted to Yan Fu. He gave him a pill, checked his wounds, then sighed. His poisonous eyes then snapped to Zhuo Fan, glinting with murderous intent. 1,000 meters out on a tall building stood 2 figures. One was middle-aged with a split mustache, the other was a red-haired elderly. The two watched Zhuo Fan with a sigh. They say that some are so stubborn they can't see they're going to die. This kid's desperate and suicidal act is Pill King Hall's bane. If the rest of the houses did the same, would vicious Pill King dare run rampant again? 5th elder laughed in lament. This kid's character is something I like. Nodding, Lin Zishan said, I know now why Tianyu lost. It would have been a miracle if he won when meeting such a lunatic, one that is so strong too. When meeting an unbeatable opponent, one must not make an enemy out of him, or the result would be devastating. Most people's first thought is to run to save their lives, and by the time they react, it would be too late. This is why Pill King Hall is still held in fear. Elder nodded and flew away, leaving his words behind. It's a pity. With this man's strong body under my guidance, his future would have been bright. With Pill King Hall's poison in him, it is ruined. 5th elder, Lin Zishan shouted from behind, is he not? Zhuo Fan, startled, 5th elder turned to look at him and shook his head. Zhuo Fan is as treacherous as a fox, cunning as a wolf, dangerous as a snake, and savage like a tiger. Not only does this kid not look like him, he is all brawn and no brain. Even if they both do not fear death, they are totally different. Lin Zishan, listen well, Zhuo Fan is 100 times more dreadful. His eyes shivering, 5th elder vanished. Lin Zishan was left with a hard expression. Hell Valley's 5th elder was the pillar of Hell Valley, the strongest. His words must be real if even he was afraid of the kid. Big Brother Song, Dong Xiaoan cried out as she witnessed Zhuo Fan collapsing. She wanted to go to him, but Dong Tianba pulled her hand. Dong Tianba was watching the elder in green with a serious face. Zhuo Fan reduced Yan Fu to such a state, and helping him would only incur the elder's wrath. It may not be righteous, but as long as you'd escape an encounter with the 7 houses alive, everything else was just details. Hey wench, take care of my disciple. Vicious Pill King turned to Zhuo Dandan, his eyes flashing green. She shivered from fear as she pointed at herself. Why you mean me? Cut the crap. My disciple ended up like this for your sake. Who else should be looking after him if not you? Yan Song spoke in an irreproachable manner. Zhuo Dandan was forced to obey despite her wishes. Yan Fu's mangled body stirred endless disgust in her. Who told him to stick his head out for me? Not me. He dragged me here to mess with Song Yu, and now that he got hurt, I have to look after him. Picking up on her loathing, Yan Song spoke in a threatening tone. Wench, my disciple got hurt for your sake, and you're just going to ignore him. Shivering, Zhuo Dandan shook her head again and again. No, I wouldn't dare. Humph, you'd better. My disciple took a liking to you, so you better not let him down, or I will make you beg for the sweet release of death. Snorting, Yan Song left his precious disciple in Zhuo Dandan's care, then walked to Zhuo Fan. The latter was on the ground, seemingly having stopped breathing, but his mind was hard at work paying attention to all that was happening. Also, he wasn't as poisoned as he had led on. He just cancelled out Yan Fu's 3 poisons with the use of demon transformation art and put on this act to dupe the crowd. Feeling Yan Song's naked killing intent with every step, Zhuo Fan's fist tightened. I'm already poisoned to death, and a senior like you still wants to finish the job. If push came to shove, his only choice was to expose his real identity. Despite having a fifth-grade demonic treasure body, an all-out strike from a profound heaven expert would leave him with a heavy wound. At the very least, his inner organs would be damaged. Zhuo Fan was ready to react at a moment's notice and strike down the insufferable vicious pill king, suddenly. Lighting crackled along his thunder ring left him startled. That guy can't be here, right? Yet familiar laughter echoed as a person flashed 100 meters from Zhuo Fan. Ha ha ha, and here I thought the magnificent and grand vicious pill king was amazing, while instead he delights in picking on the weak. It was none other than Sword Marquis Abode Zai Tianyang, the one who went through life and death alongside Zhuo Fan. Next to him was the same elder from before, 8th Elder Jian Suifeng. Well damn, you picked the perfect timing to show up. Zhuo Fan was in glee, sneaking the thunder ring into another storage ring while no one was looking. The crackling of lighting vanished, but Zai Tianyang didn't care, as he continued to stare at Yan Song with arrogance. Twerp, did you come to butt into my affairs? Yan Song snapped his eyes to him, exploding in killing intent. Jian Suifeng rested his hand on Zai Tianyang's shoulder. Tianyang, this doesn't concern us. 8th Elder, Drifting Flowers City isn't Pill King Hall's turf. Why should we be scared of him? Zai Tianyang grinned, sticking out his chin. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Ever since the Battle of Blue Expanse City between Yu Giki and Zhuo Fan, Zai Tianyang had become a busybody. He just couldn't stand by and watch injustice playing before him. This quirk wasn't that bad, but it didn't do any good either. The elder didn't stop him in normal cases. But right now, he had gone too far. To dare to butt in the 7 houses' affairs, this had left the Sword Marquis Abode's elders in a panic. He could not fathom the consequences. That Zhuo Fan was all by his lonesome self, messing with whoever that crossed him as he wished. But Tianyang represented Sword Marquis Abode. Just what did the elders teach him? Furthermore, did he have to go against the vicious pill king out of all of them? Jian Suifeng gave a wistful smile as he apologized in Zai Tianyang's stead. Ha ha ha, Elder Yan Song, I am Sword Marquis Abode's 8th Elder Jian Suifeng. Please don't mind the words of an ignorant youth. No wonder he dares act so presumptuous. He's from Sword Marquis Abode. Yan Song's eyes drifted over the two, then shook his head at the breathless Zhuo Fan. Whatever, I'll let Sword Marquis Abode have this one and won't punish this punk myself. He inhaled my disciple's poison anyway and won't have long to live. Yan Song emphasized the word disciple, pointing out the fact his disciple was the one that would kill this kid. It was a message to them. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not picking on the weak, so don't you freakin' start spreading false rumors and ruining my name, Sword Marquis Abode. Jian Suifeng was clear on his hidden meaning and nodded. Ha ha ha, Elder Yan Song has a fine disciple. How could any common person be his match? This kid dared to mess with him, so death is what he deserves. Yan Fu nodded in satisfaction. At least you're tactful. He then flashed before Zio Dandan and took her and his disciple away. His disciple won, but it was a wretched win. If he lingered anymore, the Sword Marquis Abode might figure out his disciple killed his opponent with poison while getting beaten like a punching bag. He'd have no face left then. There weren't many who knew this. To begin with, only Drifting Flowers Tower, Merry Woods, and Hell Valley. But the fewer that did, the better. This was all to avoid making a disgrace of himself. When the old man left, Jian Suifeng took a deep breath. Though Jian Suifeng, who was filled with hatred, gnashed his teeth while looking at Zhuo Fan slowly dying, bastard, he flaunts his power at every chance and disgraces all the 7 houses. All right already. Do you think you're that monster, Zhuo Fan, that you can do anything you want? After cuffing Zai Tianyang over the head, Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, do you have any idea how dangerous that was? Unlike Yu Giki, who likes to play games and scheme instead of acting on impulses, Vicious Pill King would strike at anything that earns his displeasure with impunity, even against the other houses. No one can do anything to stop him. Zai Tianyang bit his lip and sighed powerlessly. You must be the Sword Marquis Abode's young master. Zai Tianyang turned to see Dong Xiaoan kneeling at his feet. Brother Song Yu has been poisoned by Pill King Hall. Please save him. Zai Tianyang eyes Zhuo Fan, then Jian Suifeng. 8th Elder, can we save him? You think there's anyone in this world that can cure Pill King Hall's poison? If there was, it wouldn't have grown into such a fearful figure. Jian Suifeng shook his head. Tianyang, don't mess with other people's problems. Zai Tianyang watched Dong Xiaoan hopeless. Forgive me, miss, I cannot help him, and left with Jian Suifeng. Dong Xiaoan cried as she turned to her brother. Dong Tianba sighed. At the end of it all, dear little brother Song met his doom because of us. We will return his body to Nitrane City and bury him there. The Song clan will be then declared our kin. Dong Xiaoan sniffed and nodded. Wait, a sudden voice stopped them. Chuchu appeared. He's been poisoned by rainbow cloud palm. If you touch him, you will also suffer. What? The two backed off a few steps. Dong Xiaoan watched Chuchu mournful. What can we do? We can't just leave Big Brother Song's body here. Leave him to me. I will heal him. Chuchu bound Zhuo Fan in a ribbon and vanished, leaving the Dong siblings in shock. The Sword Marquis's abode of the 7 noble houses couldn't do anything. Yet a hick woman could. The two couldn't make heads or tails of it, but Zhuo Fan was the most in shock. He observed the 3 poisons in his body combining and ever-changing, amplifying its toxicity. Was there any other method that could remove it besides the demon transformation art? Maybe. His guess got him in high spirits. 15 minutes later, in the slums, Chuchu laid Zhuo Fan on the earthen bed and her hand flashed with a bottle. The instant she uncorked it, the scent wafted everywhere in the room. Zhuo Fan was startled, yet despite his eyes being close, they still trembled. This was what he was after from the start, the heavenly treasure Bodhi Jade sap. A green drop landed on Zhuo Fan's lip, sliding in his mouth. In that instant, Zhuo Fan felt a boundless vitality soaring ever higher in his body, wrapping every inch of his body. He was so happy, but the sorrow in his heart dwarfed it. Sister, it would have been better if you dripped it on my egg. A green light spread throughout his body, into every damaged fiber left behind by the poison. In 6 hours, his face no longer looked ill. Zhuo Fan felt the medicine did its job and faked a faint breath as though he had just recovered. He was muttering all the while to make his weakened state believable. Chuchu nodded slightly and helped Zhuo Fan to sit on the heated bed. She took a seat behind him, releasing a silver glow from her hands as she rested them on his back. Shivering from the sharp cold, Zhuo Fan sensed a frigid yin seeping into his body and flowing through his meridians to clear any leftover poison. His body had little poison to begin with, and the poisoning he showed on the surface was already cleared up thanks to the Bodhi Jade sap. If this process continued, the cat would be out of the bag. No one would fear Pill King Hall if their poison was so easily removed. Furthermore, with how knowledgeable Chuchu seemed regarding Pill King Hall's poison, if a drop of Bodhi Jade sap was enough to cure him, she wouldn't have followed through with the healing. Zhuo Fan was frowning at this point. No, I cannot let that happen. I can't have her realize the truth or I'll be exposed. So Zhuo Fan used the demon transformation art to remove the yin energy. Chuchu was startled, thinking the poison countered her efforts, so she added more strength. Zhuo Fan tweaked his cultivation method to match her rate of pushing yuan qi into his body until, at some point, Chuchu sensed her yuan qi moved uninhibited through his body. However, a light scowl adorned her face. I cannot believe the Pill King Hall's poison has reached such heights. The poison from a mere youth made me expend so much energy to dispel it. Zhuo Fan secretly laughed, creaking his eyelids open and putting on the weak and sick act. Where am I? Zhuo Fan turned his head around, puzzled, but he cried in joy at the sight of Chuchu. Sister Chuchu, you're finally back. I thought you're angry with me and would never talk to me again. Chuchu was slightly moved. It was unimaginable for this boy to be so happy about seeing her. Instead of being relieved, he was still alive. This was clear proof he placed her far higher in his heart than his own well-being. Feeling warm inside, Chuchu raised an eyebrow as she smiled. Of course I'm angry. You, a body cultivator, trashed Yanfu to such a state, and you still dare fake weakness before me. Speak, what is your aim? He, I don't have one. Just that when I saw you for the first time, you showed such a fierce attitude towards me. But I know you are a good person, taking me in despite your troubles. That is why I want to get close to you, understand you, and become your friend. Chuchu gave him a long look and a smile slipped on her face. Humph, yeah right, who'd believe you? I saw your fight with Yanfu. You were so vicious in your attacks, using filthy language too. It was the opposite of what a refined young master would do when looking for consolation. Zhuo Fan darted his eyes left and right as he sighed in his heart. Chuchu is wise to figure out a man's true nature after just one battle. What she said is true. Why would a ruthless demonic cultivator act all kind if not for his self-interest in growing stronger? He always felt that only the weak would rely on factions, while the strong stood alone. It was the same for spiritual beasts. Packs existed only of low-level spiritual beasts, while 5th and 6th level beasts were solitary, because once you had strength, you did not need one to look for shelter. But how was he supposed to answer Chuchu? Mulling in his heart for a while, Zhuo Fan noticed Chuchu's stare on him. It was then an inspiration struck, and he secretly smiled. Brother Dong, thanks again for your girl-chasing skills. Ha ha ha, Sister Chuchu, you really want me to say it? With silly laughter, Zhuo Fan scratched his head shyly. Chuchu's heart was growing in suspicion. Her eyes became piercing. Tell me, is your aim in getting close to me something unspeakable? It's not that important, just that. I like you, Zhuo Fan scratched his nose, blushing. Sister Chuchu, you're right, I'm not that forward when making friends with anyone, except beauties. Zhuo Fan's bottomless eyes stared at Chuchu with emotion. She was so stunned that a rosy tint spread on her cheeks. Why, you don't even know how I look, so why do you know I'm beautiful? Chachu was starting to feel nervous as she stammered. Zhuo Fan secretly relaxed. The initiative is back in my field. Thanks, Brother Dong. Thank you for your skirt-chasing experience. Zhuo Fan was happy inside, but his face was giddy. Sister Chachu, I already told you, your eyes are mesmerizing. The moment I laid eyes on them, I knew you were beautiful. Sophistry, eyes have nothing to do with how one looks. Chachu turned her head, afraid of meeting Zhuo Fan's gaze. Zhuo Fan let out a short laugh and pressed his advantage. Who said that? Mother said the prettier the eyes, the beautiful the woman. Your mother is speaking nonsense. Really? Then let's see. Zhuo Fan reached for Chachu's cloth covering her face. She was startled for a moment before fleeing scared. Don't, I am hideous. I don't want to scare you. If you try that again, I will be angry. Chachu turned into the scared rabbit hunted by the fierce tiger, running to a corner in the room and blushing in panic. As for her threat, it held no power. In fact, it was more dignified than her usual cold and unfeeling manner. Zhuo Fan was stunned. Sister, I won't hit you. What are you so afraid of? Chachu seemed to have recovered her usual self after hearing him speak. She shook her head. Don't joke around like this again. Regardless of your reason for getting close to me, I will soon leave this place. It's likely that we will never meet each other again. What? Leave? Zhuo Fan was alarmed. He finally found this Bodhi jade sap and now she wanted to leave. Where do I go looking for heavenly medicine then? Where? Zhuo Fan blurted. I won't tell you even if you ask. Chachu turned and left. This will be the last time we see each other. Her steps were growing ever fainter. Zhuo Fan's eyes now flashed with a trace of resolution. He would have to fight for the Bodhi jade sap if he still wanted it. But the opponent was a profound heaven expert. A noisy fight might break out and more experts would come. At that point, his fate was sealed. Killing intent flashed in his eyes and feigned reluctance in his voice. Sister Chachu, don't leave. I don't want to be away from you. Zhuo Fan pretended to be weak as he got up, only to collapse forward. Even flung from a 100-meter-tall cliff wouldn't put a dent in him with his bone-tempering cultivation in normal cases. But women were women. Chachu's heart turned soft and was by his side to support him. But Zhuo Fan let out an evil smirk as he clawed at Chachu. He'd force her to hand over the Bodhi jade sap. If not, he was going to pry it from her cold, dead body. Zhuo Fan wasn't kind, striking down even his so-called friends if it came to it. Since she was a profound heaven expert, she slanted her head the moment she heard the sound from the swift attack and avoided Zhuo Fan's move. The claw passed by her neck, taking with it the cloth over her face and exposing a delicate and smooth skin. Since the first attack didn't work, he wanted to continue, but Chachu's expression left him dumbfounded. Incredible, that was the only thought in his mind. Chachu's features made her the most perfect, most outstanding beauty he had ever seen. This was even if he were to include his past life. So much so he couldn't even conceive the thought such a being existed. She is indeed a fairy. Zhuo Fan forgot even his objective. Chachu was also lost, not having detected Zhuo Fan's killing intent. His slack-jawed expression made her blush as tears pooled in her pure eyes. Bam! A crisp slap made intimate contact with Zhuo Fan's face, throwing him into the wall. She picked up the rough cloth on the ground and covered her face before leaving. With the clear teardrops still stained on the floor, what's going on? Zhuo Fan rubbed his inflamed cheek, finding it impossible to forget her visage. Who knew the world could birth such beauty? I thought what I used before was flattery, but it turned out to be true. Pretty eyes are always on pretty women, and she is the most amazing in the world. Zhuo Fan sighed with palpitation and sorrow. Suddenly something occurred to him and rushed outside. But there was no sign of Chachu or any trace of her Yuan Qi. Sister, at least leave the Bodhi jade sap behind. Zhuo Fan was crying inside. Now I'm back to square one. Blast it all to hell. What was I doing gawking instead of attacking? Am I a lecher that can't move when he sees a beautiful woman? Zhuo Fan cursed himself as he sighed again and again. 3 days later, the Dong siblings were asking around as they made their way through the slums. Bro Song, where are you? Dong Tianba took his sister to a rundown house where he noticed Zhuo Fan's figure through a hole in the roof. He was sitting on the bed with his eyes closed in meditation. Bro, I finally found you. It's good that you're all right. Dong Tianba ran to him but bumped into an invisible wall and was flung into the dirt. Opening his eyes, Zhuo Fan exhaled as he stood up. With all the effort he put into cultivating these past few days, he reached the second layer of bone-tempering stage. He had Yan Fu's 3 poisons to thank for that. Poison was also a tonic. Zhuo Fan refined them and also absorbed Chachu's Yin Yuan Qi, resulting in a 1-month early breakthrough. This advancement strengthened his body and speed by 10%. Now the average profound heaven experts were nothing, and he could even clash with those body cultivators in the profound heaven stage. With a wave of his hand, he released the defensive array and walked out with a smile. Bro, a second-rate clan such as you coming to visit my humble home truly brings light into this wretched house. Please stop pretending. Dong Tianba patted the dust from his clothes. What's with this house? Why couldn't I enter and felt like I got slapped instead? Ha ha ha, you think anyone can just waltz in? Zhuo Fan laughed. These 3 days. I was cultivating in seclusion and set up a defensive array so no one would bother me. What, freaking arrays? Dong Tianba jumped, his 2 eyes staring at Zhuo Fan in shock. Bro, if I haven't indulged in vices with you for so long, I'd think you're a different person. We haven't seen each other for a few years, and not only has your strength soared, but you're also knowledgeable in arrays as well as having refining skills. Dong Xiaoan stared with her pretty eyes at Zhuo Fan in worship. Laughing out loud, Zhuo Fan hurried to explain, Brother Dong, don't tease me. I used to be so frivolous in my youth, but young Miss Dong and your grandfather woke me up. Let bygones be bygones. Big brother Song it all my fault? Dong Xiaoan's rebuking glance seemed to be sending a message, though in fact it was filled with love. Dong Tianba smacked his lips. Little brother's glorious success leaves me ashamed. I'll work hard and one day reach new heights just like you. Ha ha ha. Cultivation is based firstly on talent, second on luck, and third on diligence. If anyone could have become strong after just hard work, the world would have been filled with experts. Zhuo Fan gave a bitter laugh. Dong Tianba's talent will only allow him to reach profound heaven stage at best. Without a lucky break, he would never advance beyond that. But Zhuo Fan didn't want to curb his enthusiasm. Oh, Brother Song, where's Lady Chuchu? Dong Tianba looked around. She said she'll save you and had actually done it. She's such a strange person. Why is it that I don't see her around? It's a long story. Zhuo Fan sighed, having recalled the Bodhi Jade sap and was filled with lament. I had the perfect chance and blew it. But regretting it now is pointless. If the heavens would grace me with another chance, I will definitely strike when I need to. Zhuo Fan was filled with resolve while Dong Tianba misunderstood. She left. Zhuo Fan nodded with a sigh. Bro, you have become so infatuated. Dong Tianba patted his shoulder. It's all right, lovers will one day reunite. Just make sure to not let her go next time. Zhuo Fan didn't get the chance to explain as Dong Xiaoan glared at her brother. Dong Tianba noticed it and changed his tone. That Lady Chuchu must have left because she has another lover. Forget about her. The world is teeming with flowers, so you don't need to stop at the first one you find. Perhaps the one before you might be even better. Dong Xiaoan was bashful. Zhuo Fan watched the siblings act while blinking dumbstruck. Do I look like a man intoxicated by emotions? My only regret is missing my chance to get the Bodhi Jade sap. Though Zhuo Fan didn't clear the misunderstanding, he continued to speak. Brother Dong, did you come here to make sure I am still alive and kicking, or is there something else? Dong Tianba recalled the reason for his visit and facepalmed. Brother Song, thanks for reminding me, I totally forgot. I came to make sure you're all right and for the safety of both our clans to take you somewhere. Dong Tianba then pulled Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was baffled but followed after noticing how serious he was. Since he lost all trails on Bodhi Jade sap, it was better to go with Dong Tianba and ask around. The trio arrived before a tall building. The plaque on it left Zhuo Fan secretly giving a chuckle. Meanwhile, he had a vulgar grin on his face. He, Brother Dong, you just said you're going to work hard, but how come you brought me to this place? What place? Dong Tianba was clueless. With a wretched smile, Zhuo Fan pointed at the plaque. Brother Dong, don't play the fool. You're much more cultured than me. Look, it says bro, MPH. Dong Tianba clamped his mouth shut as he cursed. Quiet, this is Drifting Flowers City. A place ruled by women. You think there are such places here? Then, Zhuo Fan blinked at the plaque. Dong Tianba looked where he was pointing and almost cried, Brother, please look closer. It's the Iris Edifice. After a long look, Zhuo Fan noticed right then when the wind blew the red silk away and revealed the whole plaque. Star Reader, play on words. The first character for brothel is the same for Iris. This was the Iris Edifice, the top of the 15 buildings under Drifting Flowers Edifice, and the Iris Overseer too was none other than Chin Caking. Ha ha ha, so it's the Iris Edifice. I thought such a place was uncultured and didn't bother remembering the matron's name and called it brothel. You're still saying it. Dong Tianba glared at him and sighed in relief once he found no one paid attention to them. Uttering the word brothel in Drifting Flowers Edifice's domain was suicide. Dong Xiaoan pouted, Humph, all men are the same. Let me warn you, both of you are forbidden from going into such places again. Zhuo Fan laughed dryly. If you want to bother someone, nag at your brother. Why are you lumping me together with him? We're not related and I am a free spirit. Brother Dong, why did you drag me here? Zhuo Fan ignored Dong Xiaoan. The frown further emphasized the seriousness on Dong Tianba's face. Brother, I have thought long and hard these past days and realized our misfortune came from offending Peony Edifice's Zio Dandan. Among the 15 overseers, Iris Overseer is the most amiable and the easiest to speak with. I want to ask her to help dissuade this grudge. If not, even if we shave our heads and hide in a monastery, we'll meet our ends sooner or later. Zhuo Fan snorted but secretly nodded. If that Iris overseer had any intention of helping us, Zhuo Dandan would have been kept on a tight leash. She did all this in an attempt to expose my identity. This was fine anyway, since Zhuo Fan wanted to know the Iris overseer in person, to figure out how deep her suspicion went. And whether or not his battle with Yan Fu worked to consolidate these guesses. Zhuo Fan nodded. Bro, you're so thorough. The Iris overseer is definitely a place the two of us must pay a visit. Since bro agrees, then let's go. Dong Tianba laughed and produced a red invitation to the two Qi condensation young ladies standing guard. Dong Tianba bowed 90 degrees as he offered it. Please announce that Dong Tianba and Dong Xiaoan, along with the Song clan's Song Yu, have come to visit Iris Overseer. Humph, you think it's that easy for second and third-rate clans to waltz in? The girl snorted. Dong Tianba was beet red in anger, but his bow didn't flinch under the contemptuous stare of the girl. Dong Xiaoan chewed her lip and sighed. She felt sorry for her brother, but there was no other way. This was the reception all clans outside the 7 houses got. Zhuo Fan wasn't known for his patience, entering while Dong Xiaoan was distracted. Ladies, do you know Zhuo Dandan? One of them looked at Zhuo Fan. She is our senior sister. What, you know her? She's from Peony Edifice while this is Iris Edifice. We won't announce your arrival even for her sake. Ha ha ha, that's not my intention at all, but have you heard? She was stripped naked by a man in the middle of the street, leaving her in nothing but her underwear. The two's eyelids twitched as they nodded. He, that man was none other than me. Zhuo Fan let out a wicked smile. Do you believe me when I say that if you do not announce our arrival, I will peel your clothes off in broad daylight? The two recoiled. How dare you? This is Iris Edifice. Is there a difference? Zhuo Fan stared them right in the eye. His killing intent spiked and a soul ripple swept the two. The ladies shivered. Fear had gripped their hearts. Wait here. I will go make the announcement. Unable to withstand his cold gaze, one lady ran inside, leaving the other shivering. Dong Tianba sighed. Ever since he met Song Yu again, Dong Tianba felt he was a different person. Not only in strength, but also in character, not putting even the 7 houses in his eyes. This was why he brought his sister along, to keep an eye out on this brother of his. But not only did she overlook his actions, the latter was now looking for trouble. We came here to look for asylum, and you've come asking for help with that attitude. It'd be lucky if they don't slaughter your entire clan. Not only was Zhuo Fan indifferent, but he also had a proud look plastered on his face. Bro, towards these small-time snobs, fear is the best solution. He, bro, you, Dong Tianba sighed. He could only hope Iris Floorkeeper was open-minded enough to overlook this. The Dong siblings waited nervously while Zhuo Fan looked calmer than ever. The lady soon returned and spoke in a frightened tone. The overseer shall see you. Oh, great, thank you. Dong Tianba bowed, then rushed inside, dragging his sister. Zhuo Fan swaggered in the slowest and most languid way, smirking at the ladies and giving them the middle finger as he passed. The ladies stepped back in fright and only gained some semblance of reassurance when he was gone. Hey, did you also report how vulgar that punk is? The other lady asked. The first one was sullen. Sister, I did repeatedly. Then why is the overseer letting them in? She should have sent someone to put him in his place. The other lady was on the verge of crying. Sister, don't say it, it's useless. Do you know what the overseer said when I mentioned his obscene behavior? What? 4 words. Don't provoke the lunatic. What? The other lady was scared now, her eyes wide as saucers. She didn't know Zhuo Fan's identity, but their overseer actually went as far as to recommend not offending him. Is he from the 7 houses? That can't be. The invitation clearly states Dong and Song clans. The Dong clan is a second-rate clan and the Song a third-rate clan. It doesn't make sense to let him go unrestrained. This was the thinking of people who had yet to witness the sheer brutality and savagery of the infamous Zhuo Fan. A madman wasn't scary, but a pig-headed madman was. Zhuo Fan dolled up as Song Yu when he came to Drifting Flowers City, but his demeanor was as frivolous and whimsical as ever. In any case, the trouble would fall on the Song clan. So he was free to be brasher than ever. With this incentive, he plunged the Mary Woods disciple into a world of hurt, spicing up the show by humiliating the Peony Edifice's disciple and then trashing of Pill King Hall's disciple as the curtains fell. He showed no leniency to any of them, despite them hailing from the 7 houses. Yet, with all the trouble piling up on his head, he wasn't in the least bit interested regarding the danger he was bringing the Song clan. Even Iris Overseer was not willing to mess with such a lunatic, who had no mind of the repercussions. It was fine if he didn't care about his life, but others close to him, this was a fact made obvious when he clobbered Yan Fu. Chin Caking thus warned the disciple to avoid something she would clearly regret. The two, though, were unaware of the whole story, so they thought Zhuo Fan was someone of immense power with a deep background that affected even their overseer. Zhuo Fan had long foreseen such a possibility. The one truly frightening people were those stubborn and hard-headed people that were willing to forsake even their lives. In the eyes of those who watched his battle with Yan Fu, he was a man who had died once, and this only worked to boost his egotistical behavior instead of putting a damp on it, further removing many troubles. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong, along with self-preservation, was a law adhered by all, be it strong or weak. Even the 7 houses had to think twice when messing with this stubborn mule, even if they thought he was beneath them. With a dastardly grin on his face, Zhuo Fan cackled in his heart. He was met with no obstruction as he walked with the pair of siblings to Iris Overseer's receiving room. She was already sitting there and watched in awe Zhuo Fan strutting in. "Please sit." "I wouldn't dare." Dong Tianba dragged his sister into a bow while Zhuo Fan slumped into a chair. "Much obliged." Dong Tianba was scared witless, on the verge of crying. "Blast it all to hell, you're in someone else's house. If you piss her off, it won't be just the Song clan that gets buried. I pleaded with you all this time to behave. If I knew you this impudent, I would have never had brought you." Dong Tianba lamented in his mind as he rushed to make amends. "Please ignore him, floor keeper. My brother is rash and uncivilized. Please don't blame him." "Ha ha ha, young Master Song is true to himself. Why would I ever blame him? Also, you two can dispense the courtesy and sit," Chin Caking said with a smile. Dong Tianba wiped his forehead and pulled his sister into a seat, while not forgetting to send Zhuo Fan a glare. Zhuo Fan ignored it, of course, since he didn't even see it. Dong Tianba sighed, his feature tenses as if at a funeral. Chin Caking giggled, her eyes drifting over them. "Young Master Dong, this isn't the underworld. Relax, try to be like young Master Song." Dong Tianba right then noticed Zhuo Fan taking a bite out of a random fruit he picked off the table. Dong Tianba's eyelids were twitching. "He's too comfortable. This isn't your home, you know." But he only kept it to himself when he saw Chin Caking's calm state. They said Iris Overseer was an amiable person, but he didn't think it was to this extent. "She's so friendly that it should be easy to handle our problem." Dong Tianba bowed once again and spoke in a grave tone. "Overseer, the 3 of us have come with a request." "Do speak," Chin Caking smiled. "Overseer, a few days ago we offended Miss Zio Dandan, and this had us in a fright these past 2 days. This might be presumptuous of me, but I want to ask the Overseer to mediate, to remove this grudge between us. The Song and Dong clans will forever be in your gratitude. I understand this matter and Dandan was the one going overboard. I will be sure to straighten her." Chin Caking nodded, then smiled at Zhuo Fan. "However, I can't help but feel intrigued about something. They say young Master Song was hit by Pilking Hall's Yan Fu's rainbow cloud palm because of Dandan. How is he back on his feet after only a few days? Pilking Hall's poison isn't so easily removed." Dong Tianba froze but for a moment, then glanced at Zhuo Fan. Chuchu was Zhuo Fan's friend, and it was up to him if he wanted to reveal her involvement. If he made a careless comment and invited disaster later, his dear little brother would blame him for the rest of his life. Zhuo Fan nodded satisfied. Dong Tianba was a black sheep of the family, but he had a redeeming feature, his loyal heart. As for Chuchu, Zhuo Fan was also thinking of asking around for her. Chin Caking was an overseer and ought to know of the profound heaven expert Chuchu's Bodhi Jade sap. He was brief and blunt. "I met a woman covering her face who dispelled the poison swiftly." "A woman covering her face?" Chin Caking was caught by surprise. "Yes, I met her in the slums, a woman that calls herself Chuchu. The people there call her the Scourge Woman." Zhuo Fan fixed his eyes on Chin Caking, noticing suspicion in her eyes. It was then that a sudden realization seemed to overcome her, but she quickly hid it. "Ha ha ha, young Master Song is fortunate to have such an encounter. Your future will be boundless." Zhuo Fan squinted. "I can only hope." From the two's casual talk, Chuchu wasn't such a sore topic. Dong Tianba was scared she had some conflict with Drifting Flower's edifice that would affect today's talks. His hand flashed and a coral as large as a man appeared, glowing a faint red. This item was so rare that even Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. It was useless to cultivators, but its value came from its rarity. It was worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. Dong Tianba bowed again. "Then please accept this for your troubles, Overseer. I accept your kindness, but take back with you. I will handle Dandan all the same." Chin Caking didn't even glance at the coral. Dong Tianba bowed again in panic. "This is but a token of my appreciation. Please take it, or I wouldn't be able to find peace." "Bullshit, riches are given in exchange for favors. If you don't take it, how do I know you'll do it? If you overlook this once we leave, that damn girl will burn our clans to the ground, and you might not even know it. No, you will most likely have forgotten us by then. At least taking my gift ought to remind you of our plight each time you look at it, no?" Dong Tianba cursed inside. Chin Caking understood him and shook her head as she took the item. Only then did Dong Tianba smile in relief. Chin Caking clapped tryst and a disciple brought wine. Guests from afar, you gave me an immense gift. These 3 bottles of 100 Flowers wine is our Drifting Flowers edifice's specialty that helps in one's cultivation. Please accept my gift. We can't possibly refuse Floorkeeper's generous hospitality. Dong Tianba laughed as he poured himself a cup. Zhuo Fan and Dong Xiaoan toasted and drank. What great wine, Dong Tianba praised, but plopped on the table unconscious the next second. The same went for Dong Xiaoan, while Zhuo Fan was the only one sober. Raising an eyebrow, he smiled. Overseer, is there something you want to say to me? Qin Keqing gave him a praising look and nodded. You're smart. I need you to do something for me. Do it well and the 2 of you can leave the Drifting Flowers city in safety. Fail and your clans will shortly follow you into the grave. Is that a threat? Zhuo Fan perked the corner of his mouth into a wicked grin. Qin Keqing shook her head. No, a fact. I know you're a brash and fearless man, but didn't you come here to settle the matter with Dandan? If you don't do this for me, I won't help you either. And with that last temper, your 2 clans will have no future? Zhuo Fan squinted. Let's hear it. And if I can't do it, I'm guessing you're going to destroy us anyway. Zhuo Fan's carefree tone seemed to say he didn't care. But Qin Keqing found this extremely odd. Who in this world didn't care about their clan's fate? Madman, a true lunatic. This man can't be controlled. Qin Keqing secretly sighed while her face remained impassive. I'm not asking the impossible. I only want you to steal something from me. What? Zhuo Fan yawned. Our edifice lord's treasure, the Bodhi root. Come again? The Bodhi root, Qin Keqing iterated. His eyes wide, Zhuo Fan's heart was in exultation. Bodhi root gathered earth essence and turned it into life essence in the form of Bodhi jade sap. Who'd have seen this coming? He just lost his trail on the Bodhi jade sap and now he has clues about a Bodhi root. Bloody hell. This is providence, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan cackled inside, his eyes glinting with interest. As an overseer, a valuable member of Drifting Flowers edifice, why are you doing this? Despite how thrilled he was, it was best to cover all bases and know the situation in detail. Qin Keqing's eyes showed a deep gaze as her tone grew colder. That does not concern you. All you have to do is to get it. But Drifting Flowers edifice is packed with guards. How am I? Qin Keqing cut him off. You need not concern yourself with this. I made preparations. After she spoke, Qin Keqing placed a map in his hand. Zhuo Fan looked at the multitude of colorful lines and symbols blended in an intricate mesh. It is easy to remember, contains the Drifting Flowers edifice's terrain along with the patrol routes and when they change shifts. With your skill, as long as you're smart, it won't be hard getting in and out. Squinting, Zhuo Fan put away the map in deep thought. This was the perfect chance to get his hands on the Bodhi route, but was suspicious that this might be a trap. Qin Keqing may have already known his identity and set up an ambush there. If he was against profound heaven experts, not even his wings could save him, though it is highly unlikely for this to happen. If he didn't have the Iris Overseer's help, entering Drifting Flowers edifice would be difficult. Have you come to a decision? Iris Overseer stared at his face, her heart nervous. Young Master Song, I'm sorry if I have to resort to unbecoming language when I say this. But if you don't do it and leak it instead, I will gouge out your eyes, retch out your tongue, and tear your arms and legs from your body. Ah, and what choice does that leave me? Zhuo Fan snickered. Although, Iris Overseer, I have to admit, that is a bit vicious of you to do. Tearing my limbs from my body, retching my tongue out, and gouging my eyes is worse than dying. Knowing he agreed to her request, the Iris Overseer's heart eased. I am not one who takes killing lightly. But as you've seen the map and still chose not to agree, all those actions are to prevent you from leaking the secret, be it through writing or otherwise. Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched. Then, why must you take my feet? Is my feet useful in writing? I don't know. With what an oddity young Master Song is, who knows what you're truly capable of? Qin Keqing gave a silly smile hidden behind her veil. Although her features were obscured, her beauty couldn't be hidden. Zhuo Fan sighed. She is quite the looker, but her heart is so poisonous. This was something he could understand. This world was one where might was right and men ruled. A woman had to be vicious enough, poisonous enough to stand tall in this world. With how naive and gullible that pure Zhu Ningxiang was, if it weren't for her encounter with the demon Zhuo Fan, she would have been Hell Valley's cauldron by now. Zhuo Fan started to recall the carefree life the 3 led in the All-Beast mountain range. Those were the best and shortest days of both his lives. Young Master Song, you will go tonight. So soon? Zhuo Fan stared at Qin Keqing. He was impatient of getting Bodhi root, but not that much. Who knew the Iris Overseer was in even more of a rush? Young Master Song, there's something you may not know. Qin Keqing sighed. The Bodhi root is something the Edifice Lord protects herself. Only when the month of full moon does she go in seclusion, leaving the Bodhi root in the treasure pavilion's care. We are running out of time as she's soon to come out. Tianyu's #1 beauty, Chu Qingcheng. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. What's her cultivation? Her stare was fixed on Zhuo Fan. Until she was certain he didn't show any odd reaction, she responded, despite being doubtful, "She is my junior sister and should be in the third layer of profound heaven stage. That much should be possible to fight off." Zhuo Fan analyzed, then nodded. "Then I will go tonight." Qin Keqing was overjoyed and released a scent to the Dong siblings to wake them up. Since they were out for the duration of the talk, Qin Keqing explained they fainted after drinking such a potent wine, but that it wouldn't happen again in the future. This concluded the meeting, and Qin Keqing saw them out. Dong Tianbo was more than happy to leave now that his aim was achieved. As they passed by the entrance, the two ladies were still in fear, holding their tongues in check. But once the trio was gone, Zhuo Fan threw a pill into the air. A flash of red flew out of him and swallowed the energy-concealing pill, then went into Iris Edifice. He was curious to know what Iris Overseer's true game was. Blood Infant moved like a specter, entering the drawing room without anyone's notice, where Iris Overseer was still sitting. A cough suddenly came and a person appeared behind Qin Keqing. Zhuo Fan cried out, "Vicious Pill King Yan Song, why is he here? Why are you doing this?" Yan Song touched her shoulder and squeezed, making Qin Keqing grimace and her face flash green. Qin Keqing gnashed her teeth as she broke out in fine sweat, "Elder Yan, I am Iris Overseer. If I don't do this, I can no longer keep my position. Once the fool gets the item, his life would have run its course and no one will know of my involvement. Humph, you're still thinking of escaping liability even when you execute my plans. If anything goes wrong with the brat and ruins my plan, I will have you answer for it." Yan Song clutched at Qin Keqing harder, throwing her on the ground. She could only let him do what he wanted as tears of humiliation streaked her cheeks. Yan Song ridiculed, "Of the 15 overseers, I control more than half. Drifting Flowers Edifice will soon come under Pill King Hall and the first of 7 houses to be swallowed. Do you think exposing this will help you? As long as I'm here, act like the Iris Overseer you are, not for Drifting Flowers Tower, but for my Pill King Hall. You heard the brat, there's someone in this city that can remove your poison. If your poison is cured, how will you threaten the other overseers?" Yan Song gave her a contemptuous and evil smile. "Were you always waiting for the arrival of such a man that will save Drifting Flowers Edifice from this crisis? Ha ha ha, what wishful thinking. My rainbow cloud palm is made up of 7 savage poisons, and no one can remove it. The brat was only lucky to be hit by my disciple's 3 poison palm. If it was mine instead, not even the most renowned alchemist could save his wretched life." Qin Keqing bit her lip, a trail of blood flowing down, and tears glistened in her eyes from the resentment she carried. Snorting, Yan Song kicked her, "Bitch, get rid of him once he comes back, or you and your sisters will wait in silence for death without me, ha ha ha. A woman will always be a woman, reliant on a man. You must be delusional for fighting against the world of man." Yan Song laughed as he left. Zhuo Fan surmised she must be feeling hatred, anger, and deep-seated powerlessness, though it had nothing to do with him. So he willed Blood Infant to return. Now that light has been shown on the matter, he could go all out. He'll get the Bodhai route and skip town. As for the Song and Dong clan, thanks for taking the fall. Zhuo Fan snickered secretly, looking at the Dong siblings without any remorse. They had elders to get them out of any situation. "I owe you guys nothing after all. So be grateful for helping me out, okay?" The Dong siblings reciprocated his warm smile with another of their own. Though appearances could be deceiving, where even a smile hid countless dangers, in the dead of night, silence ruled. The street was empty, but there were some who were moving around a large building, the patrol. 3 words were gracefully placed on the building, Drifting Flowers Edifice. Zhuo Fan flashed in the darkness, wearing black clothes from head to toe. He made use of the patrol's changing shifts and snuck inside. Through a series of odd twists and turns, he arrived at a pond. Looking back, Zhuo Fan sighed and took the map out with a smile. "With Qin Keqing's help, I wouldn't have known of all these arrays. There are freaking 10 of them. I just passed 1 and still have 9 to go." Zhuo Fan sighed and stepped back into the darkness. He was adept in arrays, but it would be very easy to get trapped in them without prior investigation. But knowing the map and the disciples' routes, he had it in the bag. "I guess people have this saying, attacks you can avoid day and night, but thieves are hard to counter. When I get back to the Luo clan, I will have to make proper arrangements so that this won't ever happen to me." Zhuo Fan had such an easy time with the arrays, he even indulged in flights of fancy. Soon the 10 arrays were cleared. The objective was almost in sight, Treasure Pavilion, Bodhai Route. Under the cover of the inky black night, Zhuo Fan advanced like a cat through the sentries and arrived at the inner courtyard. But for some reason he stopped, brows furrowed. Taking the map out again, Zhuo Fan flitted his gaze from the map to the layout again and again. Someone changed it. The inner courtyard had a 5th-grade array, shifting defensive array. It affected every corner of the courtyard and messed with the layout. Going by the map's explanation, the Drifting Flowers Edifice shifted once a month for protection. so much so that not even the disciples knew of the new layout. But Chin Kaking was an overseer and knew the basis behind the shift, pointing the crucial locations out on the map. Now that he was here, Zhuo Fan saw there had been another shift, with those locations were no longer valid. He was now forced to search everywhere for the treasure pavilion. Curses, things only get worse, Zhuo Fan sighed as he stepped lightly, while also letting Blood Infant out to help move things along. Whoosh! Blood Infant flashed through empty rooms after empty rooms until feeling a sudden powerful force. Zhuo Fan squinted, profound heaven expert, and made Blood Infant vanish. In a sparse room with a bed, a table, and a chair, a yellow lamp burned faintly on the table. Zhuo Fan recognized the old man meditating on the bed as being Zai Tianyang's eighth elder, Jian Suifeng. The door creaked and Zai Tianyang entered covered in sweat, gasping for breath as he slumped in the chair. Jian Suifeng opened his eyes and watched Zai Tianyang, pleased. Tianyang, you've been working hard as of late. It won't be long before you surpass your elder brother. Humph, my dad always says elder brother is a genius that comes by once a millennium. Not even a radiant stage cultivator can beat him, so how can I compare? Zai Tianyang was filled with fighting spirit. I am content as long as I can surpass that punk. Jian Suifeng smiled, you mean? That freaks Zhuo Fan? Yes. Zai Tianyang's eyes flashed with sorrow. Eighth elder, my only regret in life is that I was powerless in Blue Expanse City because I didn't train harder. I let Ninger down when she needed me most. I hope the next time will be me who will protect her, not Zhuo Fan. Jian Suifeng sighed. Tianyang, you are too talented and the Abode Lord won't let you marry a second-rate clan's daughter. I know that just. Zai Tianyang chuckled in the end. If there's one good thing that damn punk taught me, it is that might makes right. There's nothing in this world you cannot do. You all kept saying how treacherous Yugiki was, but didn't he find his end in Zhuo Fan's hands? With enough strength, I will be deciding my bride and dad can do nothing to stop me. Laughing, Zai Tianyang left the room. Tianyang, where are you going? Training. Zai Tianyang was firm in his decision, his eyes proud. Of the flowing space's 9 forms, I only know 4. I will be practicing the 5th. What, you know the 4th? Jian Suifeng watched the leaving Zai Tianyang with pride. Watching Zhuo Fan's battle must have motivated him. If he keeps this up, it won't be long before he's in the profound heaven stage, ha ha ha. Blood Infant slunk back out. Zhuo Fan shook his head, didn't think Zai Tianyang took me as a rival. This is good, with his power I can rest easy knowing he can protect Ninger. Zhuo Fan moved Blood Infant to another room, but it was just another empty room. From the map, Treasure Pavilion was always shifted close to the Edifice Lord's chambers. It wasn't near this empty one, but then where can her room be? Sister Dandan, give me a kiss, just one. Young Master Yan, please don't. AI, your fiancé Lin Tianyu is already ruined by that brat. He can't make you happy, so let me. He suddenly heard 2 voices and moved Blood Infant inside the room, hoping to eavesdrop on some clues. But Zhuo Fan was shocked when Blood Infant entered. I beat the crap out of this disciple, but he is now mostly recovered. Pil King Hall's #1 alchemist sure deserves his fame, healing his protege to such an extent in a mere 3 days. Only a 7th-grade alchemist could do that. As the disciple recovered, so did his lust. He was now on the bed holding Zio Dandan's hand without letting her go. His mind had to be in the gutter. Humph, perverted couple, none of you are worth a dime. I don't have time to waste on you, Zhuo Fan snorted inside. Yan Fu suddenly pulled Zio Dandan into bed and loomed over her. He, fair lady, stay with me tonight. No, young Master Yan. The ladies of Drifting Flowers Edifice give themselves to their husbands only on their wedding night. What Drifting Flowers Edifice? It will all belong to Pil King Hall sooner or later anyway. Yan Fu's eyes became malevolent as he eyed Zio Dandan with suspicion. Are you still pining for that impotent fiancé of yours? And no, Zio Dandan cried. Then what are you waiting for? Let us enjoy ourselves. Yan Fu started to roam his hands around as Zio Dandan's gave off powerless protests. Young Master Yan, don't. I need to pay my respects to my master each evening. Pay respects. Wasn't her master Peony Overseer? That meant following her would lead him closer to Treasure Pavilion. Zhuo Fan stopped in his tracks and his heart burst with rage when he saw Yan Fu about to take advantage of Zio Dandan. Got him it. Get the FCK down, bastard. Don't ruin my plans, she still needs to visit her master. Blood Infant entered Yan Fu in a flash. Yan Fu just loosened his waistband but then felt a sharp pain in his stomach. With a waning face, he plopped on the floor. Zio Dandan was still shivering even after he collapsed. She put him on the bed and covered him with the quilt, then left after wiping her tears. Perhaps because of the fear she was in, she did not question why Yan Fu had blanked out and left. Zhuo Fan snickered as he sent Blood Infant on her trail. Yan Fu was no one important. He didn't want to earn vicious Pil King's rage because of the brat, so he only allowed the Blood Infant to suck up enough of Yan Fu's blood to knock him out. Following Zio Dandan, Zhuo Fan soon arrived at a large building. The lamps were lit, and the fragrance of women drifted for over 100 meters. Blood Infant followed Zhao Dandan, who rushed to the door where she knocked. Zhuo Fan was startled and sent Blood Infant inside. He found not only a woman but also a man. She was very bold, and despite her veil, her chest was covered by a thin cloth while leaving her back bare open. Her promiscuous eyes landed on the man. He was a middle-aged man with a split mustache that stared hotly at the woman's chest. How is this a seven-noble house? It'd be better changing its name to brothel. Why is it that everywhere I go, I end up seeing these things? Zhuo Fan shook his head and sighed, but he was still a man and couldn't help but sneak another peek. Elder Lin, do you love me? The woman giggled. Bobbing his head, the man was drooling. I love you with all my being, Peony Overseer. I, Lin Zishan, love you dearly and even die for you. I only hope that Overseer would allow me a glimpse of your delicate features. He reached for her veil, but Peony Overseer dodged with a giggle. Elder Lin, you must first make me yours before taking my veil. I will most certainly make you mine. Lin Zishan was overcome with lust as if he never saw a woman in his life. Peony Overseer rolled her eyes. Then do you agree to my marriage condition? Lin Zishan frowned and his face fell. Peony, don't make it difficult for me. All of 7 houses know how dreadful vicious Pill King is. Asking me to face him is the same as wanting my life. Humph, Lin Zishan, where has all that love you proclaimed gone? Didn't you say you'd die for me? I am willing to die for you, but not a worthless death. All men are cheaters. Get lost, Peony Overseer's anger flared and roared, tears welling in her eyes. Lin Zishan shook his head, leaving slowly. When he got to the door, he sighed, Peony, I know Drifting Flowers Edifice's situation and what you're thinking. But Drifting Flowers Edifice is hopeless. No one is willing to offend the Pill King Hall for you. If you have no safe place to turn to, look for me in Merry Woods. Lin Zishan left slowly, leaving Peony Overseer in tears. Translator, Star Reader, Editor, P4553R Master. A delicate voice came from behind the Peony Overseer. She knew it was her disciple and hurried to wipe the tears away before turning around. But Zhao Dandan's disorderly appearance had her furious. What happened? Was it Yan Fu who messed with you this time? Did he do anything to you? Chewing her lip, Zhao Dandan held in her tears as she furiously shook her head. Master, he didn't do anything yet. Sighing, Peony Overseer showed tenderness as she caressed Zhao Dandan's head. Dandan, I was wrong to blame you. Master, I am fine. But you bore such shame all because you cared for Drifting Flowers Edifice. Don't say it. Peony Overseer interrupted her. Dandan, remember, the men of this world only know to hide their intention behind sweet words. They say they love you, that they'd die for you, but when push comes to shove, they will leave you. Never ever believe a man's sophistry. Zhao Dandan's eyes roamed around before muttering, perhaps there is an exception. Dandan, what are you saying? Peony Overseers turned strict. All men of this world are heartless with no exceptions. Lin Zishan is the same, his master is the same, and even that Yan Fu. Humph, they only see us as a piece of meat. They will never stick out their necks for any of us. Women can only rely on themselves. No man is worthy of our trust. But Master, Zhao Dandan flushed, didn't Zhuo Fan appear recently? I heard he ran amok in Blue Expanse City for one girl, killing Hell Valley's 7th elder. He was willing to defy Hell Valley for her. Isn't this love? Zhuo Fan, Peony Overseer gasped. I've never seen him and can't come to a decision of what kind of man he is, but rumors paint him as a bloodthirsty demon. His battle with Yu Giki may have had nothing to do with the girl. It could be a grudge he held against the 7th elder. But aren't these all rumors spread by Hell Valley? This is clearly done deliberately to defame him. Zhao Dandan spoke softly. Peony Overseer raised an eyebrow. Girl, why are you bringing him up? You have never saw him either. The Peony Overseer started to put things together. You've been strange of late. Fussing and complaining about Lin Tianyu while also going out to look for trouble. Was it all because you fancy Zhuo Fan? Zhuo Fan was stunned. You're saying this girl acted all spoiled and humiliated the Dong clan because of me. I don't remember having that much charm. Since when is my name enough to make a girl fall head over heels for me and ruin other clans' happiness? I guess being outstanding has its demerits. Zhuo Fan got his head in the clouds. Zhao Dandan was beet red, acting all bashful. Master, don't tease me. I was only hoping of finding such a man myself, one that was willing to stand up to the 7 houses for his girl. And that is why you found Lin Tianyu increasingly displeasing, right? Peony Overseer saw Zhao Dandan nod and sighed. Silly child, even if such a man does exist, it doesn't mean you'll be fortunate enough to meet him. We, the women of Drifting Flowers Edifice, only marry people form large clans to preserve our standing. You must accept this fate. Zhao Dandan resigned and nodded sadly. Sighing, Peony Overseer patted her shoulder. Dandan, I am tired. Please patrol around Treasure Pavilion in my stead. Yes, Master. Zhao Dandan left with a bow. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed in glee. He got what he wanted without even asking. It's like giving water to the thirsty. How convenient. He called Blood Infant back and slowly followed Zhao Dandan to the blind eyes of the master and disciple. After 15 minutes of twists and turns, he saw before him a 50 meters tall pagoda. If one paid attention, he would sense a strange energy around it. An array. Zhuo Fan narrowed his eyes and withdrew. This array was controlled by those who lived here. If he forced his way in, he'd attract the experts around. But why isn't this array on the map? Is it to mislead me, or did the Iris Overseer not know? Zhuo Fan was trying to figure out the reason, but hadn't much to go on. He threw the thought away in the end. He only planned to take the Bodhi route, then bolt. Why would he give it to her anyway? So Zhuo Fan paid close attention to Zhao Dandan's gestures as she shouted, "Open." The energy around the tower retreated. Zhao Dandan entered, followed closely by Zhuo Fan. The tower had 6 levels, illuminated by night pearls. Zhao Dandan checked the treasures on each level: cultivation methods, spiritual weapons, and demonic treasures. On the 6th level, a wooden box laid on a pedestal in the middle of the room. Zhao Dandan opened it with care, revealing a dark green root emanating a fragrance, dazzling in the moonlight. Bam! Zhao Dandan closed it and smiled. All is in order. Then a black figure flashed and struck her neck, knocking her out. Hee, seeing you're a fan of yours truly, I'll let you off. A black cloth fell, revealing Zhuo Fan's twisted smile. He opened the box and took the root, but the moment he touched it, he cried out, "Damn it, it's a fake." Zhuo Fan was panicking. It looked so similar to the real thing that he didn't realize the difference until he touched it. The Bodhi root had vital essence, and even as a root, it was still alive. But this thing had the same looks and vibe as the real thing, except it had no vitality in it. This was clearly a countermeasure against robbers. Squinting, Zhuo Fan was beginning to doubt if Chin Caking was in on this. But what was the point of making him steal a fake? Is it to fool Vicious Pill King? He put the root in the box and stashed it in his ring. Since it was fake, he might as well give it to Iris Overseer and see her reaction. Who dares encroach upon Drifting Flowers Edifice's treasure pavilion? A woman's voice came from behind him. He could feel her power and knew it to be a profound heaven expert. He made the logical decision to jump through the window and make a run for it. But was a profound heaven expert going to let him leave that easily? A thin cloth blocked his path. The woman's elegance and beauty were emphasized in the moonlight, akin to a fairy. Zhuo Fan couldn't see past her veil, but was stunned nonetheless. Curses, Drifting Flowers Edifice is filled with beauties. Too bad yours only came after items, not to steal girls. Zhuo Fan charged. The woman was perplexed, seeing a second layer of bone-tempering cultivator coming right at her. This was no different than a death wish. The woman snorted inside and struck with a cold palm. Zhuo Fan let out an odd smile just as it was about to hit him, vanishing with the mystifying phantom step. The next moment he was behind the woman, fleeing. She hadn't expected such skill from him, and that caught her off guard. Her delayed reaction allowed him to flee with a 12 meters advantage. But she was a profound heaven expert, and she managed to catch up. Her fair hand caught his shoulder as she turned. With a squeeze, Zhuo Fan halted on the spot. He got you, Zhuo Fan grinned. Instead of throwing her off, he grabbed her hand, not letting it go. At the same time, lightning cracked as his wings unfolded. The lightning wings were a 6th-grade demonic treasure and would send even this profound heaven expert to her doom. Zhuo Fan was using a dirty and savage trick, but this was what he excelled at. Feeling the danger, the woman released all her power. The cold yuan qi flung Zhuo Fan's hand away. He withdrew his wings and cried, "Sister Chuchu." The woman was shocked beyond belief. "Don't tell me you're..." Zhuo Fan didn't hope to have been found out so soon, but he chose to make use of the shock to disappear into the night. Chuchu was left standing there, still baffled. Translator, Star Reader, Editor. P4553R. Under the cover of night, Zhuo Fan moved like a cheetah through a groove 50 miles out of Drifting Flowers City. He stopped in a clearing and inspected the ice on his hand. He took a deep breath to calm down. He had not expected to meet Chuchu so soon, and in the Drifting Flowers edifice no less. Much less that he would be injured by this familiar yin energy. Yet this encounter brought him some ease. Zhuo Fan cast a look back while sporting a strange smile. This was where his meeting with Iris Overseer would take place. It was also the escape route marked on the map. He would give her the Bodhi route here. What Iris Overseer didn't know was that he wasn't coming alone, bringing his tail along. A white, immaculate figure floated on a branch not far behind Zhuo Fan under the cover of the darkness. A light breeze rustled the leaves and Zhuo Fan strained his ears. He knew Chuchu was here. When was there a profound heaven expert that couldn't give chase to someone of his cultivation level? Well, of course, him not using the lightning wings may have had something to do with it. His plan was to find out Iris Overseer's true purpose and Chuchu's true identity, who knew if he might even find clues to the real Bodhi route. It all came to him in a flash of inspiration the moment he recognized Chachu. All that's left was for the two profound heaven experts to meet and reveal their secrets. Smiling, Zhuo Fan sighed as he looked around. This is where we're supposed to meet, but it looks like I'm late. Since she doesn't want it, I'll just take it with me. PFF, delicate laughter resounded, followed by a bluish figure trailing among the trees. Her soft eyes stared down at Zhuo Fan in anger. Young Master Song, I never took you for an impatient man that you can't even wait for 2 minutes. If you took that treasure away, the only thing that will happen is the destruction of the Song clan. I know that, but you should also know this item is a headache for us third-rate clans. The longer we have it, the more dangerous it will be. Ha ha ha, young Master Song is a wise man, then please hand it over. Chin Caking smiled as she stepped forward. Zhuo Fan took the box out and held it in his hand, his eyes staring into her eyes, ready to grasp her every reaction. Overseer, you need to handle this carefully, lest it will come back to bite me. If it does, you'll have me to deal with. Hi, I didn't know that young Master Song is so bold and so careful. Chin Caking giggled, but then her eyes flashed when she opened the box. Zhuo Fan also noticed. Yes, this is Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord's treasure, Bodhi Root. Iris Overseer nodded pleasantly. Young Master Song, you've done well. Zhuo Fan lifted an eyebrow as he gave her a deep look. He was clear Chin Caking knew this thing was a fake but pretended otherwise. Her aim was obvious, for him to steal the fake and not the real Bodhi Root, all to deceive Vicious Pill King. Just as he thought, an aged voice cackled when Iris Overseer spoke. Vicious Pill King floated next to her. Who are you? Zhuo Fan faked surprise and retreated a step. Snorting, Yan Song watched Zhuo Fan in contempt. He, foul punk, you fought my disciple. Did you forget already? But that is only normal since you were unconscious. You hurt me, Zhuo Fan put on a pondering look, then shouted. Oh, I know, when I was trashing that bastard Yan Fu so hard, a damn old coot jumped me. You're that son of a bitch. Yan Song's eyes flashed and his beard trembled from rage. In the entire Tianyu Empire, who the hell would dare curse him? But that was nothing compared to saying he jumped a kid. He was the #1 alchemist in Pill King Hall, the Vicious Pill King. Once word got out he sneak attacked a bone-tempering junior, his face would be thrown in the mud. He rushed to amend this, punk, that was just to teach you a lesson. Humph, shameless geezer, admit you jumped me. You're so old and yet you and your disciple colluded against me from the start. Humph, so this is how Pill King Hall acts, strength does come in numbers, Zhuo Fan mocked, as if grieved from the injustice of it all. Chin Caking laughed while Yan Song was turning purple. This punk is too ridiculous. When did my disciple and I collude against him? If this got out, he'd be the laughing stock of the empire. The 7 houses' disciples picking on other clans was a common occurrence. But if an elder joined too, and against a third-rate clan no less, it would be utter humiliation. Worse, there had yet to be anyone in the 7 houses who did this. Old Yan, ease your anger. This is his character, he is quick to anger those around him. Don't get angry, Chin Caking advised Yan Song, but in the end she had to hide her smile. Glaring at her, Yan Song's towering rage only grew. Humph, damnable punk, you're dead anyway. Talk all you want. Yan Song gnashed his teeth. His rage-filled eyes wiped the smile off Chin Caking's face. Don't laugh and take it out. Chin Caking presented the box and Vicious Pill King opened it. His 2 eyes narrowed. Bam! Yan Song threw the box on the ground, crushing the Bodhi Root inside to pieces. Chin Caking cried in shock. Elder Yan, why? It's a fake. That is no Bodhi Root. Yan Song stared coldly at her. Chin Caking jerked, her face baffled. Fake? How? This Bodhi Root has always been safeguarded in the treasure pavilion. She's about to come out of seclusion, and so it doesn't make sense. Unless, Chin Caking cast her suspicious eyes on Zhuo Fan, treading closer with killing intent. Young Master Song, I thought you knew when to retreat even if you are not the type of man that does so. I never took you for someone who would switch items. You doubt me? Zhuo Fan put on a fearful face as he fled, ready to spread his wings. He now had what he wanted and uncovered her ploy. She, a woman of power, didn't do it herself and used him, a stubborn bone-tempering cultivator, so she could shift the blame on him. Regardless if Yan Song was duped by the fake Bodhi Root or not, she would still shift the blame on him. Yan Song would then blame her for her poor choice in men and would not tell her to go for the Bodhi Root again. The Bodhi Root would be saved and she was free from Yan Song's coercion, and all at the low cost of a third-rate clan's kid. Wasn't this a win-win situation? Zhuo Fan snorted inside as his fist tightened. Such a pity the one before her wasn't a mere bone-tempering cultivator, but one who killed Yu-Giki, the freak Zhuo Fan. It wouldn't be long now. Chachu would jump in and he would then get to kill this pair. What was the Drifting Flowers Edifice's first overseer? What was the Vicious Pill King? They were but a woman and a spineless coot who dabbed in poison. Killing them isn't going to be easy, but it will not be hard either. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst as he licked his lips in anticipation, as if he was a demon king prepared to engage in slaughter. But then something happened. Qin Keqing, who was closing in, stopped in her tracks and launched a blue palm to Yan Song's chest. Bam! Among the loud explosion, there were even sounds of bones cracking. Yan Song was flung like a ragdoll into the air as he spat blood. "Why you dare betray me?" Yan Song crawled to his feet and pointed at her with rage and rancor. Zhuo Fan watched her in a daze, his fists relaxing. "What, didn't Iris Overseer want me to take the fall?" Zhuo Fan was baffled, finding his assessment wrong for the first time. He sighed, "A woman's heart is like an ocean, unfathomably deep." His guess was the most beneficial to her, but her betrayal would not only make both sides suffer, but it may lead to them dying together. "Humph, Qin Keqing, don't forget, your life is in my hands. Do you want to die?" Vicious Pill King wiped the blood from his mouth as ice crystals formed on his chest. Qin Keqing lifted her head, her mind set. "Yan Song, get this straight. I am Drifting Flowers Edifice's first overseer, Iris Overseer Qin Keqing. I won't have you ruin Drifting Flowers Edifice even if I have to pay for it with my life." Zhuo Fan was stunned. Iris Overseer was usually calm and collected. The beautiful Overseer also did not use coarse language even against an opponent she hated. For some reason, he began to feel deep respect for her. Vicious Pill King watched the proud Iris Overseer with a critical eye, savagery dripping from his voice. "Humph, a wench thinks she can kill me. You will see soon enough. Your heart has directly received my cold jade palm and your meridians must be freezing right about now. You have no way of using rainbow cloud palm." Qin Keqing's eyes flashed elated and prideful. "Yan Song, you've long got this coming. I may die from your poison, but it will be without regrets." Qin Keqing charged towards Yan Song, her palm glowing blue as she aimed for his chest. Yan Song took a deep breath and staggered as he had to spit out more blood. Just as Qin Keqing said, his yuan chi's flow was hindered, and yet he found no reason to fear. His green beard trembled as he made an evil grin on his face. Qin Keqing did not even manage to reach him before she started to tremble and vomit out black blood. The black blood was so potent that it ate through the ground when it landed. Iris Overseer swayed, then fell. Qin Keqing couldn't understand what was going on. He, wench, don't you know who I am? You think you can attack me that easily?" Yan Song snorted. "Look at your hand." Qin Keqing brought her trembling hand to her eyes and discovered it had turned from white to purple. "Ha ha ha, I am Vicious Pill King. Every inch of me's covered in devastating poison. You think the rainbow cloud palm is the only one thing I use to go against another profound heaven expert like you?" Yan Song laughed at the sky, his sharp eyes filled with murderous intent. "Humph, no one would fear me if that was the case. He, dumb broad, what a fool. I will kill you and get rid of future troubles." Despite being wounded, his palm had enough power to end a profound heaven expert's life. Qin Keqing was in despair, chewing her lip in hatred and remorse. Zhuo Fan watched it all with a critical gaze. He didn't join in because he knew there was only one person who could save the Iris Overseer. And sure enough, a white figure flew before the Vicious Pill King and struck. Frowning, the Vicious Pill King redirected his attack towards the white hand of the newcomer. Bam! With a loud explosion jarring to the ears, Vicious Pill King stumbled 10 feet back and spat blood. His hand was encased in ice. The white figure landed next to Iris Overseer. Her manner was filled with power and demanding respect from any who dared look at her. "Sister Chachu, why are you here?" Zhuo Fan still had to fake he knew she was hiding nearby. "Were you always behind me?" "Humph, you stole from Drifting Flowers Edifice and think I could not catch up." Chachu glared at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was startled as he gave a pretending cry. "What, Sister Chachu, you're from Drifting Flowers Edifice. Which overseer are you then?" Zhuo Fan looked anywhere else but at her, like a child who knew he did something wrong. He tried to prove his innocence as he pointed at Qin Keqing. "Sister Chachu, it's not my fault, I was forced. It's her, she is your traitor. She is the one to blame, not me." Shaking her head, Chachu held her forehead in anger. "You brat, you dare say this when you don't have the courage to take responsibility. You deserve to be punished." She then leaned over Qin Keqing to check her wounds. "It's ruined." Qin Keqing lifted her heavy head with difficulty as tears streamed down. "Forgive me, I betrayed Drifting Flowers Edifice." Bam. Vicious Pill King cracked the ice on his hand and glared at Chachu. "Profound ranked martial art, arcane moon art. Ha ha ha, Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord Chu King Cheng, you finally show yourself. How is your wound, I wonder? Would you like me to ease your pain?" "What, Sister Chachu, your Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord Chu King Cheng?" Zhuo Fan watched her beautiful figure in stunned silence. He wasn't faking it this time. The scourge woman he met in the slums was actually Drifting Flowers Edifice Lord. What was she doing there? Since he couldn't make heads or tails of it, he pushed this question aside. What upset Zhuo Fan even more was that Chu King Cheng was called the #1 beauty in the empire, and he did witness her visage once. Who could have those impeccable features if not Chu King Cheng? He never questioned her identity, making him doubt if his brain had a screw loose to be this foolish. But when did I become so foolish? It was when I saw Chachu's face. Zhuo Fan sighed. Even now he felt relaxed when he recalled that image. To think a woman could actually possess such charm. The him of before would never have imagined it possible. Ignoring both of their gazes, Chu Qingcheng watched Qin Keiking's wound and a bottle appeared in her hand. She opened it and the sweet smell had the two people's eyes flash with greed. Bodhi Jade Sap, senior sister, I know how much you care for Drifting Flowers Edifice. Forgive me, I failed as a lord and made you suffer. Chu Qingcheng moved the blue veil a bit and let a drop fall on Qin Keiking's mouth. Qin Keiking's body began shining in a green hue, filled with endless vitality. Even the grass beneath her began to grow unchecked. The poison on her hand had also retreated and wasn't long before it recovered its white color. The greedy Yan Song and Zhuo Fan gulped, their eyes fixed on the bottle. It was the second time he saw Bodhi Jade Sap's effect, and its endless vitality left him in awe all the same. Ah, no. Another drop ruined, Zhuo Fan lamented, considering whether or not to steal the bottle. This thought was on Yan Song's mind too. Bodhi Jade Sap is a legendary cure. How mystical, vicious pill King licked his lips. Lord Chu, how about we make a deal? That hag is about to die and Drifting Flowers Edifice will collapse without you. Give me the Bodhi root and I will give you Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote. It will ensure the survival of your Drifting Flowers Edifice. Humph, Bodhi root is the basis of Drifting Flowers Edifice. Without it, Pill King Hall would run amok and Drifting Flowers Edifice would lose its place among the 7 houses. Do you take me for a 3-year-old Yan Song? Chu Qingcheng's eyes with bone-deep hatred and grandmother's vengeance. Ha ha ha, those old hags were narrow-minded. Serve them right, Lord Chu, I advise against making the same mistake. Vicious Pill King laughed in mockery. Chu Qingcheng tightened her fists. Iris Overseer gasped a few times and got up weakly. Her pale face glaring at Yan Song, Qingcheng, I wounded him and now he can't use profound ranked martial art. Together we can end this geezer. But senior sister, what of the poisoned overseers? Pain laced her gaze, but soon her focus recovered. Iris Overseer said, everything is for Drifting Flowers Edifice's future, even the death of all overseers. Qingcheng, attack. Chu Qingcheng was still reticent as Qin Keiking shouted, Qingcheng, we will never get the chance to kill this old dog again. We won't get revenge for grandmother. Chu Qingcheng woke up and her eyes became increasingly colder. Song Yu, stand aside. Chu Qingcheng's bitter voice came out. Zhuo Fan meekly got out of their way. He was now watching the bustle and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. None of them were on guard against the second layer bone-tempering cultivator. Fight, fight. Die all of you and let yours truly reap the rewards. Zhuo Fan had a twisted grin. Squinting, Vicious Pill King watched the two's determination and his hand rested on the gourd at his waist. Lord Chu, think it through. Don't regret it later. Humph, I will regret it for all my life if I don't kill you now. Chu Qingcheng snorted as she and Iris Overseer charged towards Yan Song. In this 2-against-1, Yan Song, who couldn't use profound ranked martial art, was at a disadvantage. But he wasn't panicking. His knuckles were white as he gripped against his gourd. Boom. A sudden purple lightning struck, stopping the 2 women. Vicious Pill King frowned as he turned his head towards the newcomer. Who's there? Chu Qingcheng and Qin Keiking shouted. Ha ha ha, girls, did you already forget this old man after a few years? It was an old man in yellow, blind in one eye. A crow laid on his shoulder yet had eyes flickered with purple lightning. He was Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Godai Long Jiu, and his spirit animal, soul-devouring crow. The pair behind him were in bone-tempering stage, Long Kui and Long Jai. Zhuo Fan was startled. He didn't think he'd meet familiar faces all the way over here. Uncle Ju, Chu Qingcheng and Qin Keiking cried in joy. Vicious Pill King was frowning, despite his cold tone. Didn't expect you to get your eye back, Godai Long Jiu. Long Ju laughed, ha ha ha, it's all thanks to my little brother. I have regained my title and won't cower from the likes of you, Vicious Pill King. Vicious Pill King's face twitched but his heart cursed to high heavens. Godai Long Ju's recovery of his purple lightning gold eye was akin to meeting his archenemy. The Rainbow Cloud Palm had always been ineffective against Long Ju. After losing his eye, Long Ju was downcast, so Yan Song didn't pay him any attention, but now he was back. Vicious Pill King squinted. His heart was in panic as his hand held the gourd tighter. Long Ju, are you going to join the ladies against me? The ladies in question turned their expecting gazes at Long Ju. Long Ju cast a furtive glance on Vicious Pill King's gourd, then shook his head. Yan Song, don't misunderstand. I came here to mediate. We are all guests in Drifting Flowers Edifice and should act like one. Ha ha ha, I admire your reasoning, Elder Ju. I will forego the ladies' unreasonable act today, but they might not do the same. Vicious Pill King rested easy knowing Long Ju was out of this fight. His smile now turned to the ladies. Chu Qingcheng gnashed her teeth and looked at Long Ju with hope, but the latter only shook his head. She could only give up. Humph, Yan Song, I'll let you off now, but don't you dare make trouble in Drifting Flowers City. He, that depends on how Lord Chu receives guests. Vicious Pill King snickered and flew away. They all breathed easier seeing him leave, even the ladies. They may have been shouting kill and attack, but against an opponent like Yan Song, they were extremely tense. Uncle Ju, why did you stop us? Did you forget grandmother's revenge? Chin Caking complained, but Chu Qingcheng grabbed her shoulder. Senior sister, you misunderstood Uncle Ju. He saved us. Long Ju sighed, his voice dignified. Girls, I am the one who knows Vicious Pill King Yan Song the best. He is worse than you, Giki. Fighting him would only end in you dying for nothing. But didn't I hurt him? Chin Caking retorted. Long Ju spoke gravely. Kinger, did you notice his gourd? Chin Caking shook her head. We have met countless times, but never saw him carry one until now. He must be carrying it for some ulterior motive. Vicious Pill King is rampant and arrogant, but his heart is so spiteful that not even you Giki dared mess with him. You were at grave risk today, but Uncle Ju, is there no way we can deal with that old dog? Chin Caking wasn't willing to give up. Long Ju smoothed his beard, hard to say unless my little brother was here. He is sure to have a way. Your little brother? Chu Qingcheng and Chin Caking asked. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. He can't mean me, right? Long Q's mood was foul at Long Ju's words. Uncle Ju, why bring that brat again? He only killed you, Giki, and yet you brag about him on and on for the past few months. Many from Veiled Dragon Pavilion are starting to think you aren't just brothers. He, little Qi, are you jealous? Who in your generation could have accomplished the feat of killing that rotten bastard? Even taking him as my ancestor wouldn't be an exaggeration. What's more, we became brothers. Uncle Ju, are you talking about that rumored? Vile spawn Zhuo Fan, Chu Qingcheng raised an eyebrow. Long Ju nodded. Chuchu, you are an exceptional genius, rarest of rare, but my little brother is no weaker than you. Humph, what genius, he only knows violence. Killing wherever he goes, Long Qi spoke in a sour tone. Long Jai shook his head. Little Qi, you are wrong. Whether you want to or not, you have to admit that Zhuo Fan is better than us in every way. He may be a bit unhinged, true, but his talent matches the 7 houses' 6 dragons, and when it comes to killing, no one of our generations can compare. Little Jai got it right, Long Ju praised. But Long Qi came before Chu Qingcheng, not at all pleased. Humph, what are you talking about? There's no way that brat can compare with Sister Qingcheng. Yep, not right at all. Yours truly has always been keeping low. I've been in Drifting Flowers City for days, and have I run amok even once? No, Zhuo Fan was dissatisfied. Aren't I always Loki? I normally kill without stating my name, yet it perplexed him how, even with that, his name was known in the entire Tianyu Empire as a demon spawn. The only one that I am known to have killed was you Giki, which happened as though it was on a grand display, so of course everyone knew about me from that incident, but the rest should not be tied to my name. He thought of himself as a rational and calm person, but to others, his every move, every gesture was filled with arrogance. Chu Qingcheng held Long Qi's hand, then looked at Long Ju in hope. Uncle Ju, Zhuo Fan truly has the power to kill Vicious Pill King. Long Ju shook his head. I am not sure, but from what I can guess, Vicious Pill King's ending would only come at the hands of my little brother Zhuo Fan. I'm starting to get curious about this matchless genius. Chu Qingcheng's eyes roamed around in thought. Next, Chu Qingcheng settled Long Ju's party in the Drifting Flowers edifice. Zhuo Fan wanted to use the chance to bail, but before he could do anything, Chu Qingcheng grabbed him by the neck and dragged him back to Drifting Flowers edifice like a chicken. The moon hung above in the quiet night. Many guests were resting, except for a lamp still burning in a small room. 5 people were gathered: Chu Qingcheng, Peony Overseer, Iris Overseer, Zio Dandan, and Zhuo Fan. In other words, Zhuo Fan was the only outsider here. I'm finished, kaput, Zhuo Fan lamented. One wrong move and 3 profound heaven experts would jump him. Peony Overseer was watching Zhuo Fan with suspicion. Why has the edifice lord brought a nobody to Drifting Flowers edifice? While Zio Dandan's eyes rested on Zhuo Fan for a long time. Zhuo Fan humiliated her once, but for some odd reason she didn't hold it against him. What are you looking at? Never seen a man before. Zhuo Fan was annoyed and snapped. Zio Dandan shivered and stepped back. Impudent, Peony Overseer's fiery temper broke out as she cursed at him. You rude brat, where do you come from that allows you to speak like that in my Drifting Flowers edifice? Don't you know where you are? Who cares? Just don't let that crafty and arrogant lass have such a hot gaze for this handsome man. What hot gaze? Peony Overseer was startled. Pointing at Zio Dandan, Zhuo Fan stuck out his chin and cursed. Look at her eyes, they are clearly undressing me. Can't you see me wearing clothes? If that's not a hot gaze, I don't know what is. The 3 ladies spat, finally knowing what hot gaze meant. Their faces turned red. Zio Dandan was even more so, lowering her head in shame. This brat is too vulgar. What hot gaze, I only looked at you twice. But as Zio Dandan was getting redder by the second and was close to burning up. Chu Qingcheng glared, Song Yu, stop being rude. Yes, Sister Chachu. Zhuo Fan changed into an obedient child next to Chu Qingcheng. He knew her weakness, that she couldn't stand to reprimand him like this. At last I found you, Song Yu. You were the one who picked on my disciple. But Peony Overseer's temper flared once again at the name. Zhuo Fan was fearless now that Chu Qingcheng was there to hold his hand as he shouted, so what if did? Who told her to pick on my woman? Can't you see how rotten her morals are? Peony Overseer shivered. Of course she knew the truth, but she didn't think this brat was so pig-headed that he dared argue with her in the Drifting Flowers edifice. She knew she was wrong. She was willing to let the matter slide with just a small payback. However, she was humiliated instead. Damn rotten punk, see if I don't beat you to death. Peony Overseer was ready to strike, but the one to stop her wasn't Chu Qingcheng. She watched the hand, stunned. It belonged to none other than Zio Dandan. She was pleading with her eyes to let the rotten punk go. Peony Overseer was perplexed. My dear disciple, didn't he humiliate you twice? Why are you defending him? Don't tell me, Peony Overseer suddenly cried, you fancy him. This got all of them jumping, with even Zhuo Fan's eyelid twitching as he said in haste, hey, think what you like but be careful of what you spout. You're Peony Overseer, for crying out loud. You can't just go around spreading rumors and damaging my name. Do you even have a reputation? Why do you sound like you're the one losing out if my disciple likes you? Peony Overseer was furious. How could Zio Dandan like a reckless and impudent brat like him? But now his words set her temper off. What's wrong about my disciple that you find unacceptable to you? In a fit of anger, Peony Overseer's rage shifted from her blind disciple to enforcing marriage on Zhuo Fan. By the looks of it, it may even come to fighting if Zhuo Fan kept refusing. Zio Dandan was red as a tomato, but was also let down by Zhuo Fan's reaction. She cried, Master, that's not what I mean. Stop rambling, then what do you mean? Peony Overseer looked with askance at her and resentful of her attitude. Looking up at Zhuo Fan, Zio Dandan muttered, I only thought he is a rarity in this world, sticking out for that lady and standing against Drifting Flowers edifice. The world actually has another man willing to sacrifice himself for a woman. Him, a good man, Peony Overseer mocked. It is fine to be hot-blooded and reckless if he had Zhuo Fan's strength, but he is weak and still has the nerve to offend the 7 houses. He is just suicidal. If he had offended any other house besides Drifting Flowers edifice, he'd be lying cold on the ground by now. He was fortunate to meet Edifice Lord who saved him, or Yan Fu would have killed him. Yes, last time it was King Cheng who saved young Master Song. Iris Overseer raised an eyebrow. Chu Qingcheng nodded. That was pure coincidence. Once I got back, I would mention it to Peony Overseer and to Rain and her disciple, not to stir up trouble. Drifting Flowers City is the only place where women have the last say in things. I don't want for women to fight against each other here. Yes, I will be sure to rein her in. Peony Overseer rushed to make a bow to Chu Qingcheng and pulled Zio Dandan to do the same. Chu Qingcheng dismissed it. It's all in the past. We have gathered here tonight for one purpose, the theft of the treasure pavilion. Chu Qingcheng turned to Iris Overseer and Zhuo Fan. You two explain what happened. Zhuo Fan was indifferent in his retelling, yet he didn't miss a detail. I am the victim here. Go punish her, Peony Overseer and Zio Dandan cried in shock. Who'd have conceived it possible Iris Overseer was a traitor? Chu Qingcheng saw anger in their eyes and urged, don't be anxious. Iris Overseer hasn't truly defected from Drifting Flowers edifice. She knew I carried the Bodhi root with me at all times, yet still sent Song Yu to steal it. The two calmed down somewhat, but Peony Overseer still said, Senior sister, why have you been staying silent? I'm dying to know your side of the story. Rolling her eyes, Iris Overseer sighed. To be honest, Yan Song struck me with the rainbow cloud palm when I was returning to Drifting Flowers City 3 months back. What? You're also poisoned? Peony Overseer was worried. That means close to half of our overseers are poisoned. Humph half, shaking her head, Iris Overseer had a hardened expression. Of the 15 overseers, that old dog got to 14, forcing them to obey his orders. The only one safe is you, Peony Overseer. What? The shock was understandable. It wasn't long before Vicious Pill King got his hands on the entire Drifting Flowers edifice. So that's why Yan Fu kept saying Drifting Flowers edifice is his. Zio Dandan recalled 2 steps and Peony Overseer found it hard to even swallow. Her despair was obvious. Iris Overseer also sighed out of frustration. He told me of this secret only to have better control over me. I decided then that I'd rather have him killed than seizing Drifting Flowers edifice. That is why I have been hiding my intention, so I can strike him when he told me to steal the Bodhi root. You didn't make me steal a fake to fool him, but to shift his anger on me and attack him from behind when his guard was down. Iris Overseer, what a great plan, Zhuo Fan analyzed. Iris Overseer looked at him in shock. Young Master Song, I never knew you were so smart, not at all like the stubborn oaf you appear to be. Just a wild guess, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan scratched his head and faked clueless once again. What a blunder. The Song Yu he played was an impulsive and reckless man, not one capable of deep though. Putting together a sly mind and a strong body, what would you get? Zhuo Fan. Luck was with him this time, as they thought it was odd. However, they were not suspicious of his identity. An oaf of a brat who hit the nail on the head sometimes. Senior sister, sorry for being hard on you. Peony Overseer took Iris Overseer's hand as tears welled in her eyes. Chin Caking patted her hand and chuckled. These two women had sacrificed much for Drifting Flower's edifice and took all the responsibility on their shoulders. Senior Aunt, did you succeed in your attack on that old dog? Zhuo Dandan asked. Zhuo Fan sneered at this. Oh please, and here I thought I was one who disliked using his brains, but in fact yours seems non-existent. If she succeeded, you'd be toasting right now. Why would you all be wailing and sobbing here at this point? Zhuo Dandan blushed and glared at him. Zhuo Fan's callous words broke the sisterly mood between Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer. Their tears just went and disappeared. Rotten punk, can't you read the mood? I should have known better than to expect delicacy from you. Peony Overseer flared again as she ranted. The others broke in a small smile while Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. Peony Overseer, don't mind him. Song Yu speaks before he thinks. Chu Qingcheng glared at him, then acted like a big sister, trying to make amends for her little brother. Peony Overseer noticed this subtle difference quickly. With Edifice Lord protecting him, she no longer pursued it, and her face changed into worry. Edifice Lord, with how can senior sister put it, Drifting Flower's edifice is in imminent danger. What do we do now? Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath, her eyes flickering. We aren't nearly enough to deal with Pill King Hall. We need to find outside help. From the other houses? Iris Overseer shook her head. From the start, the 7 houses only cared about themselves. Even Uncle Jiu, who is closest to us, was fearful of vicious Pill King, who would stick their necks out for us. Yes, no man can be trusted. Peony Overseer had only hatred from being abandoned in her chambers. Her eyes flickering with wisdom, Chu Qingcheng showed a smile. Others may not be trustworthy, but he will surely help us. Who? Was the unanimous question. Chu Qingcheng grinned, the strongest house. Their eyes shined as hope was rekindled. Though Zhuo Fan frowned and muttered, the Regent Estate. Among the 7 noble houses, everyone was arrogant, everyone thought highly of themselves. But there was one house that was recognized as the strongest, the one who stood above them for the past 1,000 years, the Regent Estate. The Regent Estate's power was 3 levels higher than any house among them. No house alone could defeat it. Who'd have thought that the Regent Estate's men were also joining in the 100-pill meeting, though their numbers and strength were unknown. If the rumors were true about its power, he'd had better tread lightly. With such a strong crowd in Drifting Flower City, one wrong move would spell damnation. Sighing, Zhuo Fan clenched his fists. He needed to get the Bodhi Jade sap fast and leave even faster. From here on out, it was only going to get worse. Zhuo Fan's eyes drifted to Chu Qingcheng's storage ring. She also noticed Zhuo Fan was worried and smiled. Song Yu, stay in Drifting Flower's edifice. What? Zhuo Fan jerked, though his heart was leaping in joy. This would make it more convenient for him. Chu Qingcheng walked before him and patted his shoulder with tender feelings. No need to worry. I know you fear vicious Pill King's revenge, but he won't dare kill anyone in Drifting Flower's edifice. She then left with the overseers after telling Zhuo Dandan to prepare him a room. Zhuo Fan stood stunned, feeling somewhat warm and fuzzy inside. He had always been cooking up schemes on how to get that Bodhi Jade sap, maybe even killing someone if he had to. But Chu Qingcheng's constant care for him left him hesitant. Should I steal the Bodhi Jade sap? The night passed and Zhuo Fan walked out of his room. He was welcomed by the warm sun, yet his eyes were cold as ever. After a thorough analysis, he came to the decision to strike. Tonight was his best chance to steal her Bodhi Jade sap when Chu Qingcheng was alone. The best case was if it all went smoothly. If not, it couldn't be helped. He wouldn't shirk from killing if it'd get him the medicine. He was the demonic emperor, and not even a woman could stand in his way. Zhuo Fan took steps towards Chu Qingcheng's room. From his gate, one could even see a certain growing resolve. But the closer he got, the stranger he felt. Why were there so few people in Drifting Flower's edifice? Not even the guests were around. Make way, make way. A rash and urgent yell came from a figure in red moving with great haste. It was none other than Zhuo Dandan. Thinking for a moment, he flashed before her. Thump! Zhuo Dandan seemed to have smacked into an iron wall and fell to the ground, bringing sharp pain to her butt and head. Who is so blind that dares block me? Zhuo Dandan cursed, but she choked on her words when she saw Zhuo Fan. Eyeing her coldly, Zhuo Fan snorted. Did you say something about a blind man? Lowering her head and blushing a bit, Zhuo Dandan went by him. Zhuo Fan was even more perplexed. She used to be so feisty, so why did she suddenly change? He grabbed her arm. Zhuo Dandan shuddered and her cheeks reddened even more. Zhuo Fan ignored her state and said, "Where are you going? Why is Drifting Flowers edifice so quiet? Where is everyone?" That's because they went to see young Master Huangpu." Zhuo Fan frowned then cried, "Huangpu? A man from the Regent Estate, why is he here so soon? The one who came is Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. I heard he and Edifice Lord were childhood sweethearts. With him here, Vicious Pill King will not dare to cause trouble." Zhuo Fan's heart shook. Son of a bitch, I just decided to attack and here comes an expert. And did he have to be Chu Qingcheng's childhood sweetheart too? How the hell am I supposed to do anything with those two sticking like glue? Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and looked on murderously. Let's go. I want to see the oh so great young master Huangpu. Great, how can you be so rude to Regent Estate's young master? Zhuo Dandan was going to advise him to be restrained, but Zhuo Fan pulled her along before she could say anything. Zhuo Dandan looked at their hands but did not say a word, though it could be because her heart was skipping like a deer. Zhuo Fan's unbridled and rash attitude made her heart jump for the first time for a man. She was wishing for time to stop right now. However, with the two's cultivation, they soon arrived at the entrance of Drifting Flowers edifice. They looked on towards the crowd. Zhuo Fan let go of his hand, which made the young miss feel a sense of loss. Blast it, this damn Regent Estate is too impressive. They are like emperors. To have the other houses welcome them like this, the scene shocked him. From first to third-rate clans, all kneeled at the side of the main avenue, and those of powerful clans stood around the Drifting Flowers edifice's entrance in welcome. This was Drifting Flowers edifice's headquarters, yet the procession was even grander than the edifice lords. Was Regent Estate so strong that it could intimidate the other six? It had to. With how arrogant and belittling the 7 houses were, they would never accept such a loss of face. His face turned grave. Zhuo Fan's eyes were like a hawk, watching further ahead. In the middle of the street, a yellow sedan chair appeared before his eyes. This sedan chair was plain, with but 4 people lifting it. They were all Profound Heaven experts. Curses to high heaven, Profound Heaven experts. The other 6 houses have them as elders and you freaking use them as porters. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and his fist tightened. Though the 4 Profound Heaven cultivators just broke through, that was beside the point. What was important was that Regent Estate's power was incredible. The rumors didn't do them justice. They weren't just 3 levels stronger. The other 6 houses were swept by fear. When the sedan chair was nearby, they walked forward and bowed. "Ha ha ha, I am but a young and uncultured junior. How could I trouble the 6 houses' elders to welcome me?" Candid laughter came from the sedan, strong and resounding, reaching everyone's ears. The heavy power that it contained gave the impression of a mountain pressing on their hearts, robbing one of all power to resist. This was a true higher power, backed by soul pressure. Under the youth's kind words, all trembled, as they knew the words were backed by arrogance. He came out like this before the elders just to show off his power. They had to admit, however, that no one here could match against his soul pressure. Not even the elders of the houses. The strength of one's soul in the Profound Heaven stage was a sign of one's potential and power in the Radiant stage. No one was pleased, but they had to give credit where it was due. Regent Estate would soon have another incredible expert. His power has been promised to be no less than Jade Flute Divine Sword, Fang Qiubai in the future. Everyone was putting on serious faces, with only Chu Qingcheng lifting her head, pleased. He was someone she invited. The stronger he was, the more intimidating he was, the more capable he was to help Drifting Flowers edifice. "Qingyun, we haven't seen each other for 10 years and yet you've become so strong. I may no longer be your match." Chu Qingcheng smiled. "Ha ha ha, Qingcheng, don't tease me. I would never dare hurt you." Laughing, the silk of the sedan chair rose and an elegant and handsome man in his 20s came out. The flicker in his eyes was far stronger than those possessed by the elders, and he also had a golden glow around him too. Second layer of Profound Heaven, a body cultivator. Zhuo Fan squinted. Zhuo Fan managed to kill Yu Giki so easily because that man was a mere schemer. He did not have an unyielding body to brave through any army. However, this Profound Heaven body cultivator was a headache to deal with. And that wasn't the least of it. Zhuo Fan sighed and looked at Hell Valley's 5th elder. He noticed some time ago that this elder also had a version of the diamond body. Not even Zhuo Fan could handle 2 body cultivators. Things are getting complicated. Zhuo Fan clicked his tongue. Zhuo Dandan thought he was worried about Drifting Flowers edifice and consoled him. "I didn't take you for such a kind man, one to worry for our sake. But don't worry, with young Master Huangpu Qingyun, the Vicious Pill King will have to obediently give up the antidote." "Humph, who the hell cares about you?" He shook his head, but his eyes flashed when he gazed at Huangpu Qingyun. "He isn't an easy man to deal with. For the first time in his life, a tremor ran through Huangpu Qingyun and he turned his attention in Zhuo Fan's direction. Seeing him with Zio Dandan, he squinted. King Cheng, since when does drifting flowers edifice welcomes men? Chu King Cheng also looked at Zhuo Fan and spoke with amusement. He is a son-in-law of ours. Don't you know drifting flowers edifice had men marrying in? Raising an eyebrow, Huangpu Qingyun nodded. To marry into the drifting flowers edifice, he must be a man of greatness. I wonder when I will have that honor too. Huangpu Qingyun was beaming, but Chu King Cheng rolled her eyes with a hint of red on her cheeks. Huangpu Qingyun laughed harder at this, while the elders strained their expressions. Even for a second young master of Regent Estate, he is too freaking arrogant. He dares give us the cold shoulder to flirt with the edifice lord right in front of us. Humph, I would rather train right now. Zai Tianyang left, but Jian Suifeng pulled him back. Huangpu Qingyun then smiled at him. You must be Sword Marquis Abode's second young master. My, you have such manners. Zai Tianyang didn't care and Jian Suifeng had to make amends, forgive him. The second young master, Tianyang, is but a haughty child that I have failed to educate. Please overlook this. It's all right. Young Master Zai must be an impulsive man. I would like to befriend many such people. Huangpu Qingyun walked to Zai Tianyang and rested his hand on his shoulder. Second young master, Jian Suifeng was panicking. Huangpu Qingyun gave a reassuring glance, then smiled brightly at Zai Tianyang. Although his tone was frosty, I like straightforward people like young Master Zai the most. I would have grown tired if all I saw were fawning types, ha ha ha. The moment Huangpu Qingyun's hand touched Zai Tianyang's shoulder, he felt an overwhelming pain spread through his body. He could not move, only managing to gnash his teeth from pain and stand straight as an arrow. Pleased with the lesson, Huangpu Qingyun let go and laughed as he left with a group of fawners behind him. Jian Suifeng sighed. Tianyang, why do you act like this? I told you that Regent Estate's men are proficient in grasping the hearts of the people. Anyone who disobeys them suffers in the end. Eighth Elder, I now understand Ninger's feelings at that time. I never knew the Sword Marquis Abode would see this day. Sweat was dripping down Zai Tianyang's face. I will remember this Huangpu Qingyun. The day will come when I will pay in kind. Jian Suifeng shook his head. For thousands of years, Regent Estate stood atop the 7 houses. Even if you are unwilling, all you can do is bear it. While this scene played out, none of them noticed Zhuo Fan standing in a corner, watching closely. His eyes were cold and his fists were clenched. Song Yu, what's wrong? Your face is scary, Zio Danan asked. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Nothing. What will you do if your sisters are picked on? She watched him, amazed. Hearing a mild tone from him for the first time, depends on who it is. I will take some of my sisters to deal with normal people or tell my master if it involves the 7 houses. Humph, what will be the point of that? Zhuo Fan squinted as he showed naked killing intent. I, on the other hand, will crush anyone to dust for picking on my brother. His icy tone left Zio Dandan shivering. She looked as if she didn't recognize him. Drifting Flowers Edifice's guest hall was packed with delicacies and food for a feast. Huangpu Qingyun arrived with a crowd of retainers and sat in the seat of honor. It was the seat reserved for the leader. His action implied crass and open disrespect for Drifting Flowers Edifice. It could be even deemed as provocation. However, people found Huangpu Qingyun's act normal, treating him like an emperor. Chu Qingcheng didn't mind at all. Now that he sat there, it wouldn't be long before he would help them. Elders, please take a seat. Don't be shy. Huangpu Qingyun acted as the host and gestured to the 4 profound heaven experts carrying his sedan. As they sat along with the guests, there seemed to be one table empty. Huangpu Qingyun asked the obvious, why is there an empty table? Was the table count wrong and the servers left it as so? Clear of his intention, Vicious Pill King snickered evilly. Second young master, it belongs to Sword Marquis Abode. He must be running late with important matters. If it is irksome, second young master, we might as well remove it. Everyone watched him coldly. Vicious Pill King was simply adding insult to injury. Everyone in the hall saw Huangpu Qingyun attack Zai Tianyang from getting on his bad side. It was obvious that Zai Tianyang was now taking care of his wound and did not come. They all guessed that this second young master was still irritated and brought up this topic. It is fine if you don't want to irk the second young master, but as a man from the 7 houses, must you go so far to pour oil over the fire and present the chance to shame Sword Marquis Abode? And Huangpu Qingyun wasn't one to miss it. Elder Yan is right. The empty table is bothersome. Remove it from sight. Second young master, Sword Marquis Abode is one of the 7 houses. Even absent, their table should remain. Sir's conduct of disgracing them might earn Sword Marquis Abode's displeasure. Long Ju stood up, no longer having the patience to sit by and watch. Vicious Pill King squinted, and, you think the Sword Marquis Abode would start a war over a table? This is not a matter of boldness, but the 7 houses' sanctity. The 7 noble houses shouldn't hold each other in such contempt. Humph, nice speech. Then let me ask you, Elder Zhu, in whose domain again did my elders get killed? This time it was Hell Valley's fifth elder who laughed coldly. He, I have no problems with anyone if no one gives me problems. Hell Valley dug its own grave. You got yourself to blame for that. What did you say, you blind old dog? Fifth elder snapped and slapped the table. Long Zhu squinted, staring back without fear. The feast had become a ticking time bomb ready to explode. They would have long had traded blows if not for this place being Drifting Flowers edifice. People, please calm down. This is neither Veiled Dragon Pavilion nor Hell Valley. It is not a stage for you to settle your grudges. Lin Zishan wiped his sweat as he urged, if not for Drifting Flowers edifice, then for the second younger master. Restrain yourselves. The two turned their attention to Huangpu Qingyun. He was smiling slightly, but his eyes were anything but pleased, as if to remind them this was his welcoming feast. You dare cause trouble at my feast? The two muttered and cupped their hands towards him before sitting back down. Huangpu Qingyun laughed, that's better. The 7 houses are one big happy family. There's no need to argue over a table. Moreover, this is Drifting Flowers edifice, and it is their decision if the table stays or not. Huangpu Qingyun turned his stare to Chu Qingcheng, who nodded. Sword Marquis' abode is Drifting Flowers edifice's guest and should have a table. Frowning slightly, Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with disappointment, but laughed nonetheless. All will be done as Qingcheng said. This is your domain after all. Thank you, Qingyun. Chu Qingcheng nodded curtly, not detecting Huangpu Qingyun's change in expression. Meanwhile, the vicious Pill King had an evil smile at her expense. Humph, dumb broad. You have no clue of the second young master's intention. Drifting Flowers edifice deserves what's coming to it. Then the table will stay, he declared. But when Huangpu Qingyun saw 2 figures passing by, he smirked. However, it's only an empty table. The two outside, how about you come join me for a drink? Zhuo Fan and Zhao Dandan were about to go to their rooms when they heard his shout. Zhao Dandan was distraught over what to do and looked at Zhuo Fan since the guest hall was filled with elders. This was something the cherished disciple of Peony Overseer had never participated in. Then, she secretly laughed at her as she took a look at Zhuo Fan. If she, a Drifting Flowers edifice disciple, panicked, what about him? Who was a third-rate clan's young master? Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan was completely opposite. He was cool as a cucumber, taking her hand as he walked with a steady gait. Does this man fear no one? Not her master, not her senior aunt, not even Regent Estate's second young master, Huangpu Qingyun. In a blink, Zhao Dandan was charmed as she looked at Zhuo Fan. She didn't seem to wake up from her charmed state even when they were standing in the middle of the guest hall. Her love-struck gaze was there, open for all to see. 2 sudden killing glares landed on the two. Zhao Dandan shuddered and found one to be from Mary Woods' Lin Tianyu seated next to Lin Zishan, the other from Yan Fu sitting next to Vicious Pill King. Their lips moved yet no words came out, but the word they mimicked was the same, slut. They would have long shouted curses if it were not for Huangpu Qingyun's presence. Sizing the couple up, Huangpu Qingyun laughed, what a perfect match. Could you introduce yourselves? I am Zhao Dandan from Peony Edifice. Greetings, second young master. Zhao Dandan was tense in her greeting. Zhuo Fan raised an eyelid and stated, Sun Yu from the Song clan, a third-rate clan of Nitrain City. A third-rate, Huangpu Qingyun raised an eyebrow. Such a rare occurrence for a third-rate clan young master to become Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. People please sit there. The hell, son-in-law, when have I become? Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. Zhuo Fan was in deep thought to only be jerked awake by Zhao Dandan, who had reddened cheeks. Chu Qingcheng stood at once. Qingyun, you can't. That is Sword Marquis' abode's table. It is not for juniors. Yes, second young master, they do not qualify to sit there. Peony Overseer stood as well, paid her respect to Huangpu Qingyun, then berated the two. What are you two standing around for? Leave. Huangpu Qingyun waved his hand. His face became gloomy. Qingcheng, I agreed to not take Sword Marquis' abode's table, but now I can't even have 2 guests. You are slighting me. Chu Qingcheng stammered. She watched Huangpu Qingyun's cold face and realized she no longer knew him. Zhuo Fan understood at once. If a third-rate clan, young master and Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciple took that table, it would bring utter humiliation to Sword Marquis' abode. Huangpu Qingyun was doing it on purpose, differentiating between those who fawned over him and those who disregarded him. The problem revolved around a mere table, but it was an allusion to a question of obedience. Looks like Regent Estate's people are a cut above the 6 houses, and so is their appetite. They want to unify the 7 houses. I need to move fast and secure some elders for the Luo clan. When the 7 houses unite, the Tianyu Empire will be plunged into chaos. Zhuo Fan didn't wait for their argument to finish as he already sat at the table. The people were stunned. What gall the brat has. This will be a shame for Sword Marquis' abode. Kid, you better be careful where you sit, lest you invite death, Long Ju warned him with a cold eye. Zhuo Fan watched him calmly. Grandpa Zhu, be careful to not have your clan ruined with what you say. The people were twitching. He doesn't have just gall, he's mad. He even threatened Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Long Jiu. Only Huangpu Qingyun watched Zhuo Fan with admiration besides shock. He could now see how a third-rate clan young master became Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. Long Jiu's eyes shivered from emotion and shock. After a long time, he cupped his hands in gratitude. Thank you, young master, for reminding me, then sat quietly. This caused an even bigger shock. Not only was Huangpu Qingyun and his experts startled, even Long Jai and Long Kui next to Long Jiu were perplexed. The grand elder Jiu of Veiled Dragon Pavilion was cowed by a nameless brat. How is this possible? But no one noticed Long Jiu was moved to tears. His soul-devouring crow was also flapping its wings in excitement. Fan perked the corner of his mouth, knowing that Long Jiu recognized him. After all, he used to address Long Jiu with Grandpa Jiu the first time they met. Furthermore, unlike those that addressed him as Grandpa Jiu, Zhuo Fan's haughty tone made it undoubtedly clear to Long Jiu as to who he was. None of the people there understood what happened, their eyes darting from one to another in hesitation. A third-rate clan kid dared speak nonsense to a Veiled Dragon Pavilion's elder Odd. The elder in question not only did not rebuke but looked relaxed odder. On top of that, there seemed to be some underlying meaning in it which was baffling to them. This cast many doubts upon the guests. But before they could pry, a sneer resounded. Humph, Drifting Flowers Edifice is so thoughtful to let some pipsqueak have a table. To everyone's shock, Zai Tianyang had been standing at the entrance, unbeknown to them. Meanwhile, Jian Suifeng's face had turned ashen. The exclusion of Sword Marquis's abode from the Seven Houses feast was utter humiliation. Chu Qingcheng cried, urging Zhuo Fan, who told you to sit? Leave at once, Qingcheng, did you forget? It was I who invited them. Huangpu Qingyun smiled at her, but his deeper meaning pricked at Sword Marquis's abode. Isn't it a waste to have an empty table? I have welcomed the two disciples to make better use of it. It is not a place for a dog to sit in after all. Humph, since the second young master does not put Sword Marquis's abode in his eyes, we shall be taking our leave then. Farewell. Zai Tianyang waved his sleeve and left. This time, Jian Suifeng didn't stop him, going after him with a stern face. There was no compromise when it came to the matter of Sword Marquis's abode's dignity, even if it meant offending the other 6 houses. Chu Qingcheng became anxious. It was Huangpu Qingyun who did this, but Drifting Flowers Edifice was the host. With Zai Tianyang returning humiliated, wouldn't Sword Marquis's abode put all the blame on Drifting Flowers Edifice? In this moment of crisis, Drifting Flowers Edifice should be making friends, not offending others left and right. Young Master Zai, please wait. This is the fault of our Drifting Flowers Edifice. Please forgive me. I will be arranging a table shortly to apologize, Chu Qingcheng cried in panic. Zai Tianyang paused and turned. Chu Qingcheng was willing to lower herself and apologize. This was enough for Sword Marquis's abode to keep their dignity. It wouldn't be proper to be obstinate. However, noticing Huangpu Qingyun's mocking grin, Zai Tianyang's anger flared and spoke coldly. Edifice Lord Chu, since you have the powerful regent estate to lean on, you needn't degrade yourself. I am unfortunate to say that the small and meager Sword Marquis's abode cannot accept your apology. Zai Tianyang left this time for good. Chu Qingcheng sighed. How could she not get his meaning? Drifting Flowers Edifice chose to rely on Regent Estate in their hour of most desperate need. This in turn alienated the other houses. She didn't know if this was the right path, but she began to feel that Drifting Flowers Edifice was becoming more and more isolated. Even their longtime friend, Long Jiu, could only sigh at this. If she couldn't even preserve the dignity of her guests, what's to have them return a second time? Huangpu Qingyun was immensely pleased and showed it in his smile. His eyes drifted to Vicious Pill King, who nodded and showed a crafty glint. Zhuo Fan took it all in and cried inside, damn it. This is Huangpu Qingyun's plan, to isolate Drifting Flowers Edifice. When Drifting Flowers Edifice was gone, the next to follow would be Sword Marquis's abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion, who refused to acknowledge their might. And when the 7 houses were under one banner, the Luo clan would fall. Zhuo Fan squinted his eyes as he yelled, Brother Zai, there are more seats here. If you do not mind, let's squeeze together and join the feast. Humph, an insignificant, noisy brat dares call me brother. Are you freaking worthy of it? Sitting next to you would throw the 7 houses' honor down the drain. Zai Tianyang snorted inside as he clenched his teeth. This rotten Drifting Flowers Edifice has gone too far. Since when can a third-rate clan kid yell at me? Zai Tianyang didn't even turn around, so Zhuo Fan scratched his nose as he shouted, Coward, are you that scared of sitting next to me? The fierce tone rang in everyone's ears. Everyone was dazed, even Huangpu Qingyun. They were too out of it to even react. Blast it, this punk is a madman among lunatics, the nerve of this brat. He first threatened Elder Zhu, and now he was calling Sword Marquis Abode's young master a coward. Did he yearn for death that much? Elder Zhu didn't retaliate because of seniority. With his power, striking against a junior in front of everyone would be too shameful, while Zai Tianyang was a rash youth. You think he'd let you off after this public humiliation? The Drifting Flowers edifice won't say anything even if you do end up dead. Iris Overseer held her forehead, Peony Overseer sighed. Chu Qingcheng gnashed her teeth with tightened fists. She was itching to tear him to pieces. This rotten brat, here he goes again thinking with his brawn. Vicious Pill King's disciple and Mary Wood's disciple were enjoying the show with cold smiles. Edifice Lord Chu, this is too much even if you rely on Regent Estate. Do you want to slight Sword Marquis Abode so much? Jian Suifeng snorted in anger as his body exudes power. Chu Qingcheng rushed to diffuse the misunderstanding. Please calm down, 8th Elder. This is a misunderstanding. This child speaks without thinking. I will deal with this personally. Chu Qingcheng glared at Zhuo Fan and berated, Song Yu, what are you waiting for? Apologize? A small smile played on Zhuo Fan's lips as he looked at Zai Tianyang's back. Shivering, Zai Tianyang turned around jerkily, eyeing Zhuo Fan with rage but also shock. He then strode before Zhuo Fan. Young Master Zai, please. He is but a child. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Chu Qingcheng was nervous, yet Yuan Qi gathered in her palms. She would have no choice but to interfere if Zai Tianyang moved in for the kill. Zio Dandan jumped in front of Zhuo Fan as she nervously said, Young Master Zai, he is my fiancé, one of Drifting Flowers' edifice. His error will be dealt with by Drifting Flowers' edifice. Please don't let anger control you. Ignoring her, Zai Tianyang only calmly walked to Zhuo Fan's table. However, outside of everyone's expectation, the two didn't jump at each other's throat. Zai Tianyang just landed his butt on the chair next to Zhuo Fan and poured himself a drink before downing the glass, then stared at Zhuo Fan's face, not fully convinced as he laughed, ha ha ha, good wine, of course. Drifting Flowers Edifice's wine is made by the young and charming ladies. Since you're here, brother, let's have drinks all round. Zhuo Fan filled his cup and Zai Tianyang nodded, sitting there as if nothing happened. Everyone's eyes were bulging out of their sockets. Even Jian Suifeng was dumbstruck. Zai Tianyang's reckless temper flared even before the likes of Huangpu Qingyun from the Regent Estate. Why was he casually drinking wine with a man who just cursed at him? He didn't understand, the others even more so. Having the show cut short, the others were stunned. Chu Qingcheng was also dumbfounded, her hands relaxing. She couldn't understand what trick Zhuo Fan pulled to calm Sword Marquis Abode's young master's anger. Zai Tianyang, didn't you say sitting at that table is beneath you? Huangpu Qingyun was disappointed as he spoke coldly. Laughing, Zai Tianyang waved off his reproach. I do, but not with a brother who I appreciate. Zai Tianyang and Zhuo Fan clinked glasses just like drinking buddies. Jian Suifeng awkwardly sat next to Zai Tianyang, not quite able to wrap his head around his young master. Tianyang, you. Ha ha ha, 8th Elder, sit. Sharing a table with this brother will not disgrace Sword Marquis Abode in the slightest. Zai Tianyang waved his hand, pulling Jian Suifeng to sit. Jian Suifeng watched Zhuo Fan befuddled. Seeing peace restored, Chu Qingcheng relaxed also. Her pretty eyes landed on Zhuo Fan with gratitude. Zhuo Fan raised a glass in her honor and lifted an eyebrow. Chu Qingcheng glared at him, but they held no anger. It was the same as when a big sis smacked her little brother over the head, a love tap. Qingcheng, Huangpu Qingyun's eye grew cold, severely irked by Zhuo Fan's action of diffusing the conflict between Drifting Flowers Edifice and Sword Marquis Abode. However, Chu Qingcheng did not notice, so she urged Qingyun, it was hard to gather all the 7 houses before the 100-pill meeting, as you can see, so don't be so hard on young Master Zai. Ha ha ha, how could I? I came because of you after all. His eyes flashing, Huangpu Qingyun spoke, let's begin. Now that all houses are here, let us settle the matter between Drifting Flowers Edifice and Pill King Hall. Chu Qingcheng was happy. With Regent Estate standing here, that old dog will have to give up the antidote. What she didn't know, however, was that vicious Pill King was also anticipating this. Translator, Star Reader, Editor, P4553 R. Clap at the sharp clap, everyone turned to Chu Qingcheng. She smiled and eyed the vicious Pill King. On this occasion, with all 7 houses gathered here, I would like everyone to bear witness to one matter of mine. She stared vicious Pill King down with a cold gaze. Yan Song, it is time to end our grudges today. Ha ha ha. What grudges do you speak of? I do not understand. Have I perhaps turned up uninvited? Vicious Pill King stroked his beard. Squinting, Chu Qingcheng continued. Yan Song, stop faking it. The elders of the 7 houses are here, and so is Regent Estate's second young master. You won't leave this place until you give up the Rainbow Cloud Palms antidote. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer stood up also, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The others kept silent, watching the events unfold. They knew of this grudge between them for a long time. This time, however, Drifting Flowers Edifice invited Regent Estate to mediate and press down on Pill King Hall. Vicious Pill King would have no choice but to comply in his presence. Yet just when the second young master ought to speak, he remained unusually quiet. The people ignored Chu King Cheng and Vicious Pill King, turning their gazes to King Cheng. Because they all knew he was the one who had the final say. Who was right and who was wrong, who failed and who won, all rested on this man's shoulders. Huangpu King Yun smiled towards Vicious Pill King. Ha ha ha, Elder Yan, if you truly poison Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples, there is no harm in providing the antidote and keep it cordial. He he he. Second young master is right. Snickering, Vicious Pill King cupped his hands at Huangpu King Yun, but his sinister eyes stared right at Chu King Cheng. I have indeed hurt your overseers. But I am unable to provide the antidote. Yan's song, the nerve of you. You won't even listen to the Regent Estate. Do I have to bother His Majesty for you to drop this matter? Chu King Cheng shouted, but Huangpu King Yun lightly waved it off. His Highness is terribly occupied and has no time to mind us 7 houses. Even after what happened in Windgaze City between Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Hell Valley, His Highness rebuked them both. Not only they, but even the other houses were given a warning. Windgaze City has now become a restricted area for us. When Huangpu King Yun pointed this out, Longju and Hell Valley's 5th elder started glaring at each other. Zhuo Fan sneered inside, knowing where this was going. For the Regent Estate to unify the 7 houses, they must have all of the houses' affairs under their control. Wouldn't it become a mere figurehead as the leader of the 7 houses if the other houses turned to the emperor for mediation? Humph, they move quite quickly when it comes to grabbing power, so this is the true ambition of Regent Estate. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed coldly. Chu King Cheng took a deep breath to calm her anger. King Yun, you're right, but this old dog, leave it to me. Huangpu King Yan held his hand in interruption and spoke to Vicious Pill King. Elder Yan, taking your current stance is tantamount to slighting Regent Estate. Don't you see me sitting here? Ha ha ha, the second young master misunderstands. The truth is I cannot provide the antidote. Vicious Pill King cupped his hands and smiled, but shouldn't what a certain thief stole be returned first? What do you mean? Huangpu King Yun raised an eyebrow, his voice odd. Grinning, Vicious Pill King looked at Chu King Cheng in askance, speaking with a sly smile. Edifice Lord Chu, I'm sure you haven't forgotten of that devil Chu Kingshan. Shivering, tears welled in Chu King Cheng as she clenched her fists. Bottomless rage and overflowing killing intent surged. The people were shocked having witnessed Chu King Cheng so out of control for the first time. Sneering, Vicious Pill King added, Drifting Flowers Edifice had once sent that devil, Chu Kingshan, to become my disciple. I found him smart and imparted some of my teachings. In the end, he stole Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote formula. His strength was lacking when refining it and died, while also poisoning many overseers in the process. How can this be my fault? Yeah, he was my senior brother meant to inherit the master's legacy, but he was driven by delusions of grandeur and betrayed us despite our good relations. He got his just deserts when he thought too highly of himself. He was blind to believe he could refine the antidote only to fail. Yan Fu was mocking them now. The only thing I admire about my senior brother is his talent in alchemy. As for his moral character, he was too arrogant, repaying gratitude with enmity and hurting Drifting Flowers Edifice. It can be said he was impudent. Shut up. Chu King Cheng's anger flared and her eyes reddened as she watched the evil pair. The others jerked in fright, throwing a disdainful gaze at her. Vicious Pill King snorted, Second young master, if this happened in Regent Estate, would you give your spy the antidote? You're right, Huangpu King Yun nodded. Everyone's eyes were on him in a split second. It was Drifting Flowers Edifice who asked for him, so what was he doing sticking up for Pill King Hall? Only Zhuo Fan knew this was coming, calmly tasting the fine wine. Second young master, there is a reason behind this matter. At that time, Pill King Hall attacked our Edifice Lord. Iris Overseer hurried to explain, but Vicious Pill King cut her off. Humph, there are plenty of arguments among the 7 houses, but does this garner sending a spy to another house? Going by your words, won't that make Hell Valley filled with Veiled Dragon Pavilion's people, and Veiled Dragon Pavilion teeming with Hell Valley's spies as well? Elders began nodding at this. In the case of small arguments, they were resolved openly. Sending spies was too demeaning and shameful for the 7 houses' prestige. Iris Overseer was flustered, while Chu King Cheng was almost lost in her rage. Her eyes bore hatred towards Yan Song, wanting to eat him alive. That's enough. Since I and the house's elders are here, I will be the judge and you witnesses in dissolving this grievance. Huangpu King Yun's shout drowned the 2 sides bickering. Everyone nodded. Huangpu King Yun turned to the Vicious Pill King, to which Yan Song cupped his hands. I leave everything in the second young master's hands. Turning to Chu King Cheng, she let out a ragged breath and nodded. Hyunpu Kingyun came at her request and believed he would side with Drifting Flowers' edifice. Hyunpu Kingyun's eyes flashed pleased, with both sides in agreement. Then I will state my verdict. Do not object it or it will mean a challenge to Regent Estate. Yes, Chu King Cheng and Vicious Pill King nodded. Good. Elder Yan, you are to give the Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote to the Drifting Flowers' edifice. Hyunpu Kingyun shouted and Chu King Cheng was happy. But Hyunpu Kingyun followed up on a cold tone. However, Drifting Flowers' edifice was the first in the wrong. To be fair, Elder Yan may choose any one item from Drifting Flowers' edifice as compensation. This caused a widespread shock. Everyone knew what Yan Song coveted the most. Drifting Flowers' edifice refused to bargain this treasure with him. Or they would have long have traded it. Hyunpu Kingyun's verdict sounded fair, but it leaned towards Yan Song. In a blink, they all understood, flickering their eyes from one to another. Chu King Cheng was even more shocked. She noticed Yan Song's cunning smile and came to realize it was a trap all along. They planned this from the start. Second young master's verdict is fair. I wholly agree. Vicious Pill King laughed. Then I won't be shy and choose Bodhi root. Impossible, Chu King Cheng snorted. The Drifting Flowers edifice's sacred treasure won't be yours. King Cheng, you are the one who asked me to mediate. I have given my verdict and now you refuse. Are you mocking me? Hyunpu Kingyun barked. Everyone knew Hyunpu Kingyun didn't come to help Chu King Cheng, but the Pill King Hall. With this excuse, Regent Estate drove itself between Pill King Hall and Drifting Flowers' edifice. If Drifting Flowers' edifice didn't hand over Bodhi root, they would have to face not only Pill King Hall, but the dreaded and mighty Regent Estate, the strongest of the 7 houses. If Regent Estate moved, no other house dared to help Drifting Flowers' edifice. Before Drifting Flowers' edifice could drive out the vicious wolf, they brought in a tiger. There was no going back now. Chu King Cheng glared at Hyunpu Kingyun with tears in her eyes. She never thought possible the one she rested her last hope on, her childhood sweetheart, would ruthlessly betray her. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer were enraged, glaring at him with bitter hatred. The one they hated the most was now Hyunpu Kingyun, the betrayer. As if unable to look his former sweetheart in the eyes, Hyunpu Kingyun turned his head and sighed. King Cheng, don't be so obstinate. This is all for Drifting Flowers' edifice's sake. Bullshit, what would be left of Drifting Flowers' edifice if the Bodhi root is gone? Peony Overseer's temper flared and cursed at him. How will you call yourself Drifting Flowers' edifice if everyone is dead? Hyunpu Kingyun snorted. We agreed before to not contest my verdict. Accept it or suffer the wrath of Regent Estate. Peony Overseer turned mute. Chu King Cheng and Iris Overseer were falling in despair. However, a sneer echoed around. Young Master Hyunpu, if my ears didn't fail me, you said you came to mediate and let the elders bear witness. Now that you have given your verdict, isn't it the elders' turn to judge its fairness? This shocked everyone, turning to find the brazen man who dared contest Regent Estate. The people saw Zhuo Fan casually holding his glass as he nursed his wine. He didn't look afraid at all, having just contested against Hyunpu Kingyun. Humph, you dare interrupt the matter between Drifting Flowers' edifice and Pill King Hall? Hyunpu Kingyun glared. Zhuo Fan shook his head and embraced Zio Dandan. Lifting a taunting eyebrow at Hyunpu Kingyun, I am now part of Drifting Flowers' edifice and have the right to speak for it. What goddamn right do you have for spouting bullshit? Impudent. Hyunpu Kingyun's fury resulted in unleashing his power, launching a sudden palm attack. Not even Zhuo Fan would dare take a palm backed by a second layer of profound heaven cultivator. However, he didn't look the slightest bit worried. He knew someone would save him. A white silk ribbon seized the palm. He turned to see the cold Chu King Cheng staring back. King Cheng, what's the meaning of this? Are you violating the agreement? Hyunpu Kingyun squinted. Chu King Cheng spat through gnashed teeth. Song Yu's words are correct. Second young master has given his verdict, and now it is the elders' turn to judge its fairness. I am sure the great second young master is a man of his word. After muttering to himself, Hyunpu Kingyun snorted in anger. Fine, then let the elders decide. His power flashed, and the white silk ribbon on his hand was torn to shreds as he returned to his seat. His cold eyes gleamed over the crowd. Tell me, is my verdict right or wrong? The hearts of everyone seized. They shook their heads, then glared at Zhuo Fan. Does a Drifting Flowers edifice's son-in-law have to go this far for them? Now you threw the ball in our court. Won't uttering a single word earn Regent Estate's rage? Mulling for a moment, Hell Valley's fifth elder stood up laughing. Ha ha ha, second young master's verdict was indeed fair. I have no objection. Fifth elder is wise. Second young master, I second him. Vicious Pill King smiled at Hyunpu Kingyun. After seeing Peony Overseer's riveting gaze, then Hyunpu Kingyun's Merry Woods Lin Zishan cupped his hands. I accept second young master's verdict wholly. Hyunpu Kingyun nodded pleased, and Peony Overseer was prepped to blow. No man is worthy, they speak sweet nothings and then abandon you in your hour of need. You damn two-faced. I will never forget this, Lin Zishan. Peony Overseer's eyes burned with towering flames of rage, her breath ragged in a desperate attempt to hold it in. Meanwhile, Lin Zishan simply avoided her gaze. As matters stand, 3 of the 7 houses approved of Huangpu Qingyun's verdict. Only one more was needed to set it in stone. Drifting Flower's edifice was fully against it, but even they had no choice in the matter. Pushed against the wall, none of the elders desired to fall alongside Drifting Flower's edifice and offend Regent Estate. Huangpu Qingyun had a pleased smile when he saw Chu Qingcheng's sour face. He turned to Longju, next Veiled Dragon Pavilion's elder Ju. State your stance. Taking a deep breath, Longju thought it over. He saw Chu Qingcheng's hopeful gaze and Huangpu Qingyun's towering arrogance. Sighing, he shook his head. Second young master, I also believe you are Ko. Chu Qingcheng was ashen and Huangpu Qingyun was beaming from happiness. Then Zhuo Fan pursed his lips, casually saying, Grandpa Ju, choose your words wisely. The hell, this punk is threatening Elder Ju again. Zhuo Fan's tone was flat, but all knew its meaning. What shocked the people present was his balls to disrespect Long Ju again and again. He may be a junior to Long Ju, but doing it a second time was testing Veiled Dragon Pavilion's patience. If Long Ju didn't strike, it would be an affront to their reputation. Long Ju, you've been berated once again by a mere junior yet still do not retaliate. You have quite the mild temper, it seems. Hell Valley's 5th elder seized the chance to mock him. Long Kui and Long Jai glared at Zhuo Fan. Though Long Ju didn't care, all his focus was on what to say next. Looking at Zhuo Fan again, he noticed the deep determination his eyes hid. Long Ju then gnashed his teeth. Fine then, I'll gamble. Second young master, I believe you are partial. Drifting Flower's edifice may have been the first to be in the wrong, but taking their precious treasure from them is the same as cutting off their future. It is no different than destroying them. Long Ju cupped his hand and shouted. Though his head was soaked in sweat, his words smacked Regent Estate in the face. His stance would have a great impact on the way Regent Estate would treat Veiled Dragon Pavilion in the future, but he had more faith in Zhuo Fan. He saw it with his own eyes in Wingay City. Each of Zhuo Fan's decisions was always correct. Shocked beyond belief, no one saw this coming. This wasn't just siding with Drifting Flower's edifice, it was going against Regent Estate. Chu Qingcheng and the other 2 overseers offered their thanks again and again. Long Ju gave a bitter smile as he slumped in his chair. He had no idea if this would promise blessings or spell doom. Huangpu Qingyun disregarded Long Ju and stared at Zhuo Fan. He made the Grand Elder Ju change his decision. Just who the hell was he? Indeed, Huangpu Qingyun discovered Long Ju had already made up his mind of forsaking Drifting Flower's edifice. However, those few words from Zhuo Fan set Veiled Dragon Pavilion against Regent Estate. Who in God's name is he? He has greater sway than even me. In fact, he wasn't the only one who noticed. Everyone else there realized this but chose to abstain from revealing it. Yet their eyes never left Zhuo Fan. Chuckling inside, Zhuo Fan kept drinking with Zai Tianyang like best buds. What of Sword Marquis's abode? What is your opinion? Huangpu Qingyun turned his cold eyes to Jian Suifeng. Zai Tianyang, however, patted Jian Suifeng before he could rise and laughed. 8th elder, let me handle this. Tianyang, this concerns the future of Sword Marquis's abode. You must, I know. Zai Tianyang waved his warning off, sneering at Huangpu Qingyun with a slanted look, then toasted with Zhuo Fan again. Kid, I find you really familiar. Are you really a son-in-law to Drifting Flower's edifice? Yep, rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan didn't know what he was going for and nodded. Then prove it by kissing your wife. Zai Tianyang laughed as he pointed at Zio Dandan. She went beet red in a flash, her heart raced, going a mile a minute and stole glances at Zhuo Fan. The latter glared at Zai Tianyang and cursed softly. What are you playing at, punk? Wanna fight? Zai Tianyang just stated. Hey now, I know you want my favor, so do what I say or I don't know which side to choose. What? This made everyone hold their breaths. Jian Suifeng was close to exploding. In this critical moment when one word could decide the future of their house, he was playing around. Tianyang, Jian Suifeng shouted. 8th elder, believe me, I know what I'm doing. Zai Tianyang showed a reassuring glance. Jian Suifeng had never before seen him look so serious. He nodded in the end and chose to believe this disciple. He won't be damning the house over a game, right? Fine, Zai Tianyang. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists and was itching to wipe that grin off Zai Tianyang's face with his fists. But he chose to endure, glaring at him. I will obey your order. Zhuo Fan embraced Zio Dandan and French kissed the girl in front of the whole crowd. Zio Dandan's mind went blank. When he saw Zai Tianyang's ridiculously pleased grin, Zhuo Fan couldn't help but curse. Pervert, what are you happy about? If you want a woman, go find your own. Ha ha ha, I already have, you know. Once I tell her, she will hate you forever. Zai Tianyang laughed and slapped the table in joy. Everyone watched Sword Marquis Abode's young master in a daze. They didn't know what he was saying, but one thing was certain. The two knew each other. Meanwhile, only Zhuo Fan knew the she he was referring to was Zhu Ningxiang. Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan sighed, "Make your choice then." "All right, brother. I choose you." Zai Tianyang could barely hold his glee as he turned to Huangpu Qingyun and taunted with his eyebrows. "Second young master, I absolutely positively refute your so-called fairness. That is why Sword Marquis Abode believes your verdict is wrong." Huangpu Qingyun clenched his fists in rage. His eyes bored through Zai Tianyang. "You have gall, just you wait." Zai Tianyang lifted his head in confidence, ready to fight back. With this, the verdict was a tie. Chu Qingcheng was overjoyed and expressed her thanks to Zai Tianyang. She then said to Huangpu Qingyun, "Since the second young master's verdict could not gain the 7 houses' elders' approval, it is vetoed." "Who said it is?" "Have you forgotten about us, the Regent Estate?" Huangpu Qingyun snorted. "He, I have never heard of giving a verdict and vote also. Regent Estate's vote is invalid from the start," Zhuo Fan sneered. Gnashing his teeth, Huangpu Qingyun glared at him. If he had killed Zhuo Fan when he had the chance, Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis Abode would have abstained and Drifting Flowers Edifice would have easily fallen. Damn punk. "I will kill you myself." Huangpu Qingyun glared murderously at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan noticed and smiled. "If the second young master is unsatisfied with this conclusion, I have a proposition. Elder Yan gives the antidote, and he is free to pick anything from Drifting Flowers Edifice besides Bodhi Root." "No, only Bodhi Root matters to me." Vicious Pill King brushed his sleeve in anger. Zhuo Fan perked the corner of his mouth as if he was expecting this. "That may not be off the table as you might think, just that you can't have it so easily. It will all depend on you." "What are you getting at?" Vicious Pill King asked. "Simple, the 100-pill meeting is about to start and the prize shall be the Bodhi Root. The winner will have all rights to claim it." "All right, let's see if anyone can contest my alchemy skill." "Ha ha ha," Vicious Pill King cackled, thinking he had it in the bag. Huangpu Qingyun muttered for a while, then agreed, while Chu Qingcheng and the rest were filled with worry. Who could beat Vicious Pill King in alchemy? It seemed like a lifeline for Drifting Flowers Edifice, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference than before. With both sides coming to an accord, the intricate feast had reached its end. What people found strange was Pill King Hall and Regent Estate converting about conditions not with Drifting Flowers Edifice's lord, but Zhuo Fan, the Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. In a land where women ruled, their fate was ultimately in the hands of a man. This was one irony some people couldn't get enough of, but the real irony was that Zhuo Fan was a fake son-in-law, only known by the overseers. And this man was the one who spoke for the Drifting Flowers Edifice. Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer exchanged a glance, their hearts bitter. As this was all said and done, any regret now would be wasted breath. Besides the fact the elders of the 7 houses were witnessing this, who'd be able to change it now that Pill King Hall and Regent Estate grasped such a huge advantage. They could only blame themselves for trusting Regent Estate. They gave Huangpu Qingyun so many of their treasures to bring him here, only to be closer to losing their very last and most important one. When the elders left, taking care of their affairs, Chu Qingcheng called for Huangpu Qingyun, the last man to leave. "Wait," Chu Qingcheng's face was frosty, her eyes cold. Huangpu Qingyun paused but didn't turn around. Not far away, Vicious Pill King also paused and looked at the two. "Why?" Chu Qingcheng said. Huangpu Qingyun's lip moved but started with a sigh. "Qingcheng, I have given you a chance but you didn't take it." Chu Qingcheng frowned. "In any case, this is all in your house's interest, and neither of us can change it. If only Drifting Flowers Edifice would have been more behaved, you'd have never come to witness today." Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with regret and strode away with his 4 profound heaven experts. In Chu Qingcheng's moment of loss, Vicious Pill King crept over with a vicious smile. "Edifice Lord, you've been wrong in your assumptions this time. The ones who want the Bodhi Root isn't Pill King Hall but Regent Estate." "What?" Chu Qingcheng was startled. He, that old bat didn't tell you. Regent Estate had long demanded the Bodhi Root from her. Too bad she was so stubborn, not willing to budge an inch so. Vicious Pill King squinted. "Guess it's no harm in telling you this secret at this point. You think I alone am enough to harm that old bat? She had advised 3 generations of your edifice lords. After all, a truly awe-inspiring peak profound heaven expert." A bad feeling began to seize Chu Qingcheng's heart. "Ha ha ha, you should have already guessed it. The one to have wounded her to such a state was an expert from Regent Estate. Foolish girl, you think your weak link with the second young master is enough to make Regent Estate help you. You brought the wolf in with open hands." Vicious Pill King's unrestrained laughter was filled with disdain as he took his leave. Chu Qingcheng shivered and collapsed, her eyes empty and tears streamed down her cheeks. "What have I done?" Her empty eyes now held despair. Her lone figure in the grand guest hall struck a pitiful image. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan and Zio Dandan left the hall and saw the veiled dragon pavilion with sword marquise abode waiting for them in a remote corner. With a grin, Zhuo Fan walked straight to them, with Zio Dandan next to him, of course, eliciting a surprise from him. "What are you coming with me for? Go play by yourself." Zio Dandan pouted. "You've done that in front of everyone and now you're so mean." "What did I do? Wasn't it just a kiss? It's nothing great. I did it to get Sword Marquise Abode's vote and save your Drifting Flowers edifice." Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and warned, "Don't ever mention this again. There is nothing going on between us." Zio Dandan was like an obedient child, though in her heart she felt miserable. Yet noticing the two houses watching them closely, she couldn't help but grab Zhuo Fan's hand in worry. "Song Yu, are they looking for trouble since you insulted them at the feast? It'd be best to leave as soon as possible." Zhuo Fan didn't explain and nod. "Correct, but this is a man's job, not for women. Also, the further you are from me, the better." Zhuo Fan wrested his hand from her grip without hesitation and walked forward. Zio Dandan was sad but worried for his sake. She thought of something and quickly rushed off. "Greetings, it's been a long time." Zhuo Fan sported a faint smile, putting on the thunder ring from his storage ring. Sparks traveled across it and Zai Tianyang's reacted in kind. He laughed. "I knew it was you. You looked so different that I almost didn't recognize you. But calling me a coward made me realize the truth." Zai Tianyang was the first to call Zhuo Fan a coward, and now the roles were reversed. "By the way, we're sister-in-law." Zai Tianyang's eyebrows danced on purpose. Zhuo Fan's mood turned sour as he waved a fist. "Why did you do that anyway? Are you itching for a smackdown? Ha ha ha, it's a joke, a joke." "You didn't lose out anyway." Zai Tianyang laughed as he withdrew, still somewhat afraid of Zhuo Fan. "By the way, little brother, I wanted to ask, what was this all about?" Long Ju asked sternly. "Don't you realize we all offended the Regent estate, little brother?" "Wait, you're Zhuo Fan," Long Kui cried out. Since Long Ju only had one little brother, Zhuo Fan, it was easy to figure it out. Jian Suifeng and Long Jai were also in shock. Now they knew why Long Ju and Zai Tianyang sold their face to a kid, to the point they openly defied Regent estate. Both were brothers to Zhuo Fan, holding undying gratitude towards each other. "Yeah, brother, what was that all about?" Zai Tianyang was also serious. "I trust you since you have a good reason, but don't go ahead and sell me out again. We've been through life and death together." Zhuo Fan scratched his nose. "You two are the ones I trust the most. I wouldn't have dragged you into this if I had no other choice. Just that you've already been pushed into harm's way and it's best to plan ahead." The two asked at the same time, "What do you mean? Can't you see it?" Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. "Regent estate intends to unify all 7 houses and you two are on their kill list. Rather than wait to be killed, it's best to set a boundary and retaliate." "What, unify the 7 houses? How do you know THT?" they all cried. Zhuo Fan slowly shook his head. "It's just a guess for now." Huangpu Qingyun displayed his power the instant he saw Zai Tianyang refuse to comply. "If we take this arrogant behavior of a disciple into account, then we can draw conclusions at the true schemes cooking in the heads of the Regent estate's minds. On the surface, it looks nothing more than looking to make trouble for Sword Marquise Abode and humiliating it through you, when in fact he managed to achieve 2 things. Weakening Edifice Lord's position, instigating Drifting Flowers Edifice and Sword Marquise Abode against each other, and splitting the people into 3 camps, those that obey, those that defy, and the opportunists. From how everyone reacted just now, it is safe to assume Hell Valley and Pill King Hall are in support of them. Meanwhile, Drifting Flowers Edifice, Sword Marquise Abode, and Veiled Dragon Pavilion, having reproached him many times, are obviously against them. As for Merry Woods, they are in the opportunist camp. They began to recount the feast in its entirety and came to the same conclusion. Now, they began to see why Huangpu Qingyun was so disgusted and rude over this trivial matter, even towards a house's young master. He wasn't just arrogant, but was devising a way to deal with the houses. They all broke out in cold sweat. If Zhuo Fan was right, the strongest of the 7 houses was going to declare war on them. To root them out and unite the 7 houses under one banner, this is all just a guess of yours. If it isn't true, then we became hostiles with Regent estate for nothing, Long Kui said sternly after a moment. Nodding, Zhuo Fan's eyes turned cold. "Indeed. But don't you all agree it is better to become enemies than to wait for the moment when they come at you and catch you unprepared? It's easy to see the difference in danger. If it was me, I would destroy them all at the slightest sign of disobedience." Shivering, Long Ju and Jian Suifeng exchanged a glance and admired him inside. "So vicious and decisive, just like a true ruler. Fine, I know of that saying about guard against those that want to hurt you, or whatever. I get the Regent estate is coveting us, but Drifting Flowers Edifice's sorry state is a different matter. Brother, you made us favor Drifting Flowers Edifice and thus pushed forward Regent estate's war to us. Zai Tianyang suddenly said. Jian Suifeng gave him a praising glance. This kid is finally thinking for his house. Zhuo Fan disapproved with a sneer. Drifting Flowers edifice is indeed the weakest of the seven, on the verge of collapse. This is why Regent Estate wants to start with them. Think about it. If they fall, who will Regent Estate turn to next? They all then realized shock. Though the Drifting Flowers edifice was the weakest amongst the seven houses, they were still part of the seven houses. If Drifting Flowers edifice was out of the picture, the next would be them, Sword Marquis Abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Drifting Flowers edifice is your gate. Once this gate splits open, Regent Estate will be unstoppable in its march to swallow you all. In addition, Drifting Flowers edifice's existence presents us with Regent Estate's attack target. Take Drifting Flowers edifice out of the picture, and it will be anyone's guess who the next mark is. They all nodded, with some people's eyes flashing with resolve. Even Long Kui, who always looked for chances to nitpick with him, had to agree. Long Kui now understood how serious this matter was, which involved her house. Then what do you get out of this? Zai Tianyang said. I know you well enough, and there's no way you'd get involved without getting something. Least of all, volunteering to help Drifting Flowers edifice get over this predicament. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with confidence and said, Miss Long Kui, do you remember our 10 years agreement? Rising Luo clan above the 7 houses in 10 years, Long Kui muttered. Correct. Zhuo Fan continued with a smile. What I get from all of this is to slow down the Regent Estate's campaign and allow the Luo clan rise in 10 years. When I am done, we will see who will be the true #1 house in the empire. What boasting? Jian Suifeng was the first to open his mouth in shock. 10 years to go beyond the 7 houses. There never was such a precedent in the entire Tianyu Empire, let alone rising enough to fight the strongest of the 7 houses, Regent Estate. Zhuo Fan's words were borderline fantasy, but from the looks of the rest, this arrogance was something they were used to. Given enough time, they got used to Zhuo Fan's egomaniac nature. So much so they became numb to how many surprised he gave them, to some extent. Besides, compared to those shocking and incredible things he did, boasting would hardly mean anything. In fact, he might actually pull it off. They were skeptical but also expectant, looking forward to seeing how far this little freak could go. Furthermore, their interests aligned for now. AI, to safeguard both of our houses, we have no choice but to work together and protect Drifting Flowers edifice. It would have been best if we talked about this yesterday, now that the 2 houses are in agreement, with none of us having any legitimate reason to intervene in that contest anymore. Long Ju shook his head. Zai Tianyang did the same, complaining, punk, making that proposition was a bad move. Whining with alchemy is the same as just giving it to Vicious Pill King. You think I wanted to. How else could I have made them take a step back and give Drifting Flowers edifice a lifeline? Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan sneered. Moreover, you don't need to worry about this. All you have to do is to support Drifting Flowers edifice from time to time and prevent it from being swallowed. Does that mean you have a contingency in place? They all asked. Perking the corner of his mouth, Zhuo Fan spoke with confidence. It's just alchemy. I will face the Vicious Pill King myself. What? He is a 7th grade alchemist. How? This time they were panicking. A 7th grade alchemist was considered a peak in Tianyu Empire. Very few people had reached such a level. And Vicious Pill King was the #1 alchemist in Pill King Hall. He was better than even an average 7th grade alchemist, possibly the best in the empire. Was Zhuo Fan, with his cultivation at his age, capable of such a feat? Damn it all to hell, what is up with this freak? Alchemy arrays, he is a master of all. There's hardly anyone in his generation who is his match. How did all of heaven's favor get dumped on him? Zai Tianyang was close to raining curses. He knew Zhuo Fan's skill in alchemy was abnormal, but not to the extent he reached a 7th grade alchemist's level. Zhuo Fan sighed, don't look at me like that. I am going to face him, but I too am not certain of success. Zhuo Fan knew alchemy needed 3 things: cultivation, skill, and flame. Cultivation allowed prolonged control over the flame. Skill referred to the secret refining skills of some clans. Without a good one, no amount of cultivation would help refine a good pill, and flame determined the degree of ingredient refinement. For high-grade ingredients, a common flame was unable to refine it. An alchemist had to look for a beast flame or a natural-born fire. The stronger the flame, the better the refinement. His cultivation left room to refine a 4th grade pill at best, but with the secret and ancient refining skill from 9 Serenity's secret records, he could go a grade higher. Regarding flame, he had no clue how strong the azure flame was, but it was strong, no doubt about it. He was confident he should be able to refine a 7th grade pill. And if you fail, Longju saw Zhuo Fan silent and was beginning to worry. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. Then it will come down to a fight. This is actually for the best. Taking the Bodhi route, the Regent estate will change their targets to me and Drifting Flowers edifice will gain some breathing room. But you will end up chased by the experts of 3 houses. Long Ju's eyes trembled, worried for Zhuo Fan's safety. A smile leaked on Zhuo Fan's lips, ha ha ha, and will be enemies sooner or later. Messing up their plan earlier is for the best. With me getting their attention, you 3 houses will have no trouble making preparations. Zhuo Fan's words moved them. He was using his life to buy them time. They were now looking at him in gratitude and admiration. Who would dare brave such dangers when a single mistake would be paid for with his life? Damn kid, you're truly bold. Even giant Suifeng had to admire him. Zai Tianyang slapped his shoulder. He was silent, but his eyes spoke volumes, a burning gaze that seemed to want to melt him. It was a hero's appreciation of another. Young Master Zai, please do not hurt him. A charming voice was followed by the appearance of a figure in red. It was none other than Peony Overseer. Zhao Dandan ran back and pulled the baffled Zhuo Fan behind the Peony Overseer. Everyone, Song Yu is as stubborn as a mule and offended you before. Please, for my sake, don't take it out on him. Peony Overseer cupped her hands. They suddenly froze, then laughed. Peony Overseer thought they wanted to get revenge on Zhuo Fan and rushed over to save him. This made them exchange a glance. It was though they sent out a message through their gaze, and all agreed to play along. Zhuo Fan was always so cocky that Long Jiu, a senior, looked for any chance to poke fun at him. Long Jiu coughed before he snorted in anger. How did Drifting Flowers edifice get such a rude disciple? I would have long slapped him silly if Peony Overseer hadn't shown up. Uncle Jiu, please don't take it out on him. Peony Overseer nodded again and again. Long Jiu was stroking his beard, but his eyebrow danced in amusement at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's heart jumped and knew something was up. And sure enough, Long Jiu bypassed Peony Overseer and patted his shoulder like a teaching elder. Punk, you got away this time. But you better watch it in the future. Then Long Jiu slipped away, walking faster than normal, afraid Zhuo Fan would settle the score. Zhuo Fan blinked, still out of it. Zai Tianyang, having learned by Long Jiu's example, slapped his shoulder with a proud smile as he blurted, Punk, better watch it next time. I won't go so easy again. I am cooler than you, stronger than you. To think you even dared call me brother, hoping you can climb ranks. Ha ha ha. Zai Tianyang was carefree in his speech. If it were any given day, he'd never had the balls to speak to Zhuo Fan in such a way. Whose fault was it that Zhuo Fan took on Song Yu's face? Zhuo Fan clenched his fists and fire ebbed in his eyes. Curses, since when did I have such goddamned brothers? You were the one acting all familiar with me before, and now you're messing with me. As Zhuo Fan glared at the 2's retreating figures, a charming voice spoke. Hey, what are you looking at? Can't take it? Zhuo Fan turned towards Long Kui. She struggled to hold her smile back as she berated. You're just a junior just like this lady. You better get your act together when you see Uncle Jiu again. Don't be cheeky and learn some manners. Long Kui stuck out her chin, passing him by with an attitude to match. Worse, when she just passed him, Zhuo Fan noticed a wry smile on her face. Zhuo Fan was trembling now, close to spitting blood. Curses, even this wench is joining in. Your lucky Drifting Flowers edifices people are around, or I'll be pulling your pants down and tanning your ass. I am a sworn brother with Long Jiu. I am a senior here, you're the cheeky one. Zhuo Fan felt bleak. Long Jai passed by him and he glared back as if to say, what, you're also going to kick me around? Long Jai just shrugged and walked. Giant Suifeng stroked his beard with a smile, walking after Zai Tianyang. If he didn't see it himself, he wouldn't have believed the freak Zhuo Fan that killed Yugiki would have a day like this, all sullen and downcast. Once all were gone, Zio Dandan sighed and smiled. That was dangerous. Lucky I called my master in time to save you. Who told you to? Zhuo Fan glared impatiently and howled. How could they dare think to mess with me if not for you 2 showing up? Zio Dandan lowered her head, feeling deeply wronged. Peony Overseer flared, Song Yu, don't think you can always rely on Edifice Lord and pick on my disciple. Humph, you think I care for your fate? I only came to save you because Dandan asked me to. Humph, men are all the same, ungrateful. Dandan, let's go, he isn't worthy of you. Peony Overseer pulled Zio Dandan away. Zio Dandan looked back at him, but Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. Zhuo Fan thought for a moment, then walked to the guest hall. It is time to lay the cards out for Chu King Cheng. Exchanging Bodhi Jade sap for the safety of Drifting Flowers edifice is a good enough deal for them. The guest hall was quiet now that all the bustle was over. Only a bleak and desolate figure lay collapsed on the ground. Knowing to be Chu King Cheng, Zhuo Fan walked to her, his words blunt, Edifice Lord, I need to speak with you. It's regarding Drifting Flowers edifice's future. I am sure you'd be interested. Zhuo Fan seemed like a different person, unlike the silly and naive Song Yu. He had a crafty smile and a deep gaze, yet his words fell on deaf ears. Zhuo Fan looked down to find Chu King Cheng's eyes dead. She didn't hear a word he said. Come on, you're a profound heaven expert and an edifice lord on top of that, yet you can't take a hit. A man's betrayal was enough to bring you to this state? Zhuo Fan shook his head. No wonder men have been rulers since antiquity. A woman's heart is too fragile. Though big sis, even if you want to give up, do that after you listen to my plan. At least give me the Bodhi Jade sap while you're at it, Zhuo Fan sighed. If this had happened yesterday, he would have laughed, thinking it would be easy to take the Bodhi Jade sap and just leave. But now things have changed. If anything happened to Chu Qingcheng, the Drifting Flowers edifice would collapse. Wouldn't that be to Regent Estate's satisfaction? For now, he couldn't steal the Bodhi Jade sap and could only politely ask for it. Edifice Lord Chu, wake up. Listen to my plan to rescue Drifting Flowers edifice. I promise you will like it. Zhuo Fan waved his hand in front of her. Chu Qingcheng was still unresponsive, her eyes blank. Though the tears proved she was very much alive. Sighing, Zhuo Fan found himself out of options. After a person locked their heart to escape the cruel reality, the only one capable of saving them was themselves. Sister Chuchu, why are you like this? Zhuo Fan sighed, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, Chu Qingcheng moved and the light came back in her eyes. What did you call me? Zhuo Fan was startled, then happy. It seems his unintentional call brought this foolish lady back. He rushed to say, Sister Chuchu, wake up. Zhuo Fan shook to her as he used bewitching whispers. His voice was amplified hundreds of times in her ear. Chu Qingcheng shivered and woke up, looking back at Zhuo Fan. Her eyes softened. So it's you. Thank you. It's nothing as long as you're awake now. Nodding, Zhuo Fan laughed inside. By the way, I have something. No need to say it. Nothing matters at this point. Chu Qingcheng stood up as she had made her newfound resolve. Her eyes flashed. Drifting Flowers edifice has entered such a crisis, and it's my responsibility to do everything to save it. This isn't your fault. And Drifting Flowers edifice still has. Song Yu. Chu Qingcheng didn't seem to have heard him as she smiled warmly. I really need to thank you. I don't know how you got Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis Abode to help us, to give us one last chance. Without this chance, I know that we would have been stripped of all dignity. Actually, all right, you don't need to explain. I understand. She used a delicate hand to help Zhuo Fan up and smiled. I know you want to comfort me, but there's no need. I realize it now. There is still time until the 100-pill meeting starts and hope you can help me with some things. She pulled Zhuo Fan outside. The pitiful Zhuo Fan tried many times to get a word in, but was always shut down before he could finish. His only choice was to let Chu Qingcheng pull him. Big sis, can't you let me speak? I have a way to save Drifting Flowers edifice. Zhuo Fan sighed. How does this woman speak so fast? I can't get a word in. The moment I open my mouth, she lets out 10 words. It is just for some Bodhi Jade sap. Is it really necessary to cut me off every time? Zhuo Fan shook his head and stopped talking. Regardless of how he worded it, Chu Qingcheng had a way to shut him up each time, as if talking to a child. Zhuo Fan was silent the whole trip, pulled along to a desolate cliff at the back of the edifice. And the cliff's wall had faint energy waves leaking from it, a barrier. Drifting Flowers edifice disciple Chu Qingcheng, requesting an audience with Aunt Tao, Chu Qingcheng bowed and shouted. An invisible ripple echoed and the barrier opened. An aged voice traveled from within. Chuchu, you are the lord now. You do not need to act this way for this old lady. Aunt Tao is the master of this place. I may be the lord, but I dare not enter without permission. Chu Qingcheng let out a rare smile and pulled Zhuo Fan inside. The instant he got in, he sneezed. It was so cold that he could feel it even through his diamond body. A cold cave such as this had to contain an extreme yin treasure. Sure enough, a 10-meter square block of black-bluish ice laid in the middle of the cave. Any yin cultivator would greatly improve their speed of cultivation here. This place was a naturally formed treasure. Although a tad lacking compared with Bodhi root, it was still enough to make a radiant stage expert become greedy. On the ice lay an old woman in intricate robes. She seemed in her 50s, but the black and blue on her face pointed out that she was poisoned, and from the looks of it, it had to be consuming most of her body. Damn, this old woman is so poisoned and can't move, yet she can still release this barrier. Just what's her cultivation? I didn't think it possible Drifting Flowers edifice could have another expert. Zhuo Fan spoke. Then a voice filled with contempt entered his ears. Humph, foolish child, that is a living corpse. It cannot hear, cannot speak, cannot move. How can it release the barrier? I am the one who did it. Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned to see deeper inside the cave. There laid an old woman cross-legged. She wore black clothes, and with how dusky it was in here, Zhuo Fan didn't notice her at first. Aunt Tao, he has very low cultivation and only a bit of physical strength. It is normal he didn't see you. Please don't blame him. Chu Qingcheng smiled. Aunt Tao teased, girl, I have never seen you protect a man before. Is he your, did you show it to him? Chu Qingcheng blushed and nodded. Zhuo Fan was staring blankly, unable to make sense of anything. See what, treasure? Song Yu, she is our top alchemist, Aunt Tao. Quickly bow, Chu Qingcheng pushed him forward. Zhuo Fan helplessly went, feeling more bizarre. Why suddenly bring me to your head alchemist? To teach her? In any case, teaching her depends on her aptitude. Zhuo Fan did not wish to bow right now, but he had to show respect. But when he caught a glimpse of the old woman, he jumped in fright. She had white hair, but also a green and blue face from being poisoned. Not worse than the old woman on the ice. Rainbow cloud palm. One look was enough to recognize the cause. What, did I scare you? Ha ha ha. Aunt Tao showed a frightening smile. Not all of Drifting Flower's edifice's people are beauties. Song Yu, don't be rude and apologize, Chu Qingcheng urged. Yet Zhuo Fan didn't react, only watching her face as he muttered, wait, it's similar but not quite like the rainbow cloud palm. The old woman's face moved and showed surprise. Child, you seem quite knowledgeable of poisons. To be honest, this isn't because of rainbow cloud palm, but from when I failed to refine its antidote. Are you making pills or poison? Zhuo Fan shouted. Ha ha ha, well said. With a sad smile, Aunt Tao felt mournful. Whether it's poison or medicine, I am yet unsure. But in these 3 years of research, I have come to understand this is like a pill yet not a pill, a poison yet not a poison. Vicious Pill King, you are indeed so remarkable that I can't even compare. With a crazed laughter, Aunt Tao fixed her eyes on the stone wall. Zhuo Fan followed her eyes and squinted. A human skin was sprawled on the wall, holding a record of rainbow cloud palm's antidote formula. Even with Zhuo Fan's extensive knowledge, he found it weird. How is this possible? Zhuo Fan muttered. The 7 ingredients, each is a rare natural treasure, but the refining is that of a poison or a pill. Being silent for a moment, Zhuo Fan walked to the living dead on the ancient ice. He touched her hand and injected his yuan qi. As he expected, she was poisoned by rainbow cloud palm. And just like Chu Qingcheng, she had the Bodhi jade sap restraining the 7 poisons. With the help of this ancient ice, her life was preserved, only that Chu Qingcheng's poisoned state was less grave, while this living dead was filled with it. Even with an antidote, her recovery was slim. If the ancient ice hadn't kept her in suspended animation, her life would have been over. Zhuo Fan turned to the formula on the wall and felt something was off about it. It's real, but there's a trick to it. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with a strange light. All right, child, this is a secret formula of Pill King Hall. I have studied it hard for many years, yet its workings elude me. You may have some passable skill in alchemy, but there's no way you can see through its mysteries after just a glance. Picking up on his surface thoughts, Aunt Tao shook her head. She then turned to Chu Qingcheng. Girl, you didn't come here just for his sake, right? Chu Qingcheng's cheek went rosy and bowed as she related the feast's events in all its details. Aunt Tao cried out in shock. What even Regent Estate came? Ah, this must be fate. Crying towards the heavens, Aunt Tao wiped the dry tears from her eyes and muttered, Chuchu, what are you planning to do next? Will you let them destroy Drifting Flower's edifice, or will you plead the Venerable to fight them to the death? Venerable. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow in thought. Each of the 7 noble houses raised their own venerable. They were radiant stage cultivators, their last line of defense. They would never ask a venerable's intervention unless a calamity struck. This confirmed that Drifting Flower's edifice was on the brink of annihilation. When he thought about it, going against another radiant stage expert would most likely end in the Regent Estate's venerable being wounded for a few decades. I guess it is another way to slow down their conquest. Sister Chuchu, ask the venerable to step in and let them know we will fight tooth and nail with them. Drifting Flower's edifice isn't their playground. Zhuo Fan instigated. The more chaos, the better it was for him. Chu Qingcheng shook her head, her eyes firm. Asking the venerable will trigger a war among the 7 houses. The empire would be plunged into civil war and the people would fall into despair. My heart cannot bear it. If Drifting Flower's edifice falls, we sisters will part ways, but in case of war, Drifting Flower's edifice will lose for sure, and my sisters will perish with it. As a lord, I cannot ignore their fates. Now I see why grandmother chose you, the least qualified, as the lord despite unanimous disapproval. Aunt Tao nodded with a faint smile. Zhuo Fan, on the other hand, rolled his eyes, softies the lot of him. If it were him, he would have divided and then conquered, attack openly and overtly, spreading slaughter everywhere and throw the empire upside down. That was where his chance laid, to rise above from that madness. I would rather turn my back on the world than have the world turn its back on me. The demonic cultivator path was cruel and ambitious, with everyone stepping on others to reach the peak. Unfortunately, Chu Qingcheng was not a demonic cultivator. Her kind nature was just not cut out for this, unlike Zhuo Fan's bold nature. And there are the overseers poisoned by that old dog. Chu Qingcheng gazed with worry at Aunt Tao. This is why I want to ask Aunt Tao to step out and protect the Bodhi root. Perhaps our only chance of getting the antidote is if we give it in exchange. You plan on making me face that accursed man in alchemy. Aunt Tao seemed to have heard the biggest joke, cackling like mad. But in her lunacy, a hint of woe was hidden. King Cheng, look at me. In my trials of unraveling his rainbow cloud palm, I am now neither human nor demon. Do you think my feeble skill is enough to win?" Her heart in pain, Chu King Cheng whispered something in Aunt Tao's ear. Aunt Tao's eyes lit up and nodded. I see, so that's what you're planning. But will it work?" Chu King Cheng's eyes were dead set, her nod firm. "Then I will die a worthy death, so that's why you brought this child." Sighing, Aunt Tao patted Chu King Cheng tenderly on the shoulder. She then turned serious as she eyed Zhuo Fan. "Kid, come here and kowtow to this grandmother 3 times." Zhuo Fan was clueless. "Grandmother, where?" Following her finger, he discovered she was referring to the living dead. He was still out of the loop, but the dead ought to be shown respect, he guessed. So kowtowing wasn't that big of a deal. And so Zhuo Fan was quite casual in his kneeling and knocking his head on the ground. As he did, he realized Chu King Cheng was kneeling next to him, kowtowing just as well. "Good, the rite is complete." Zhuo Fan was still confused when Aunt Tao shouted and asked for him to kneel again. This time he was against it. He was first clueless to what was going on, but now he had to kneel again to this damnable old bat. But Chu King Cheng's piercing eyes left Zhuo Fan with no other choice. "Crud, I'm song you now and can only kneel." Aunt Tao and Chu King Cheng noticed his proud eyes and shook their heads. Next, Aunt Tao began reciting the teaching of Drifting Flowers Edifice's ancestors, along with their 1,000-year-old history. Zhuo Fan wasn't at all content listening to some senseless rambling, but around the middle, Zhuo Fan started paying attention. It turned out Drifting Flowers Edifice and Pill King Hall were in a tight alliance, frequently marrying one's disciples to the other. Also, the Pill King Hall's rainbow cloud palm wasn't so strong in the past, but thanks to Drifting Flowers Edifice providing Bodhi Jade sap, it slowly improved, becoming what it was today, the dread of all the 7 houses. Later, because a Pill King Hall and Drifting Flowers Edifice couple quarreled, which led to a fight, it ended up with the husband using the rainbow cloud palm on the wife, and the wife returned, enraged, back to Drifting Flowers Edifice. Drifting Flowers Edifice didn't take it seriously at first, using Bodhi Jade sap to cure her, but they were shocked to find the Bodhi Jade sap, which could save one from imminent death, to be ineffective. From that moment, Drifting Flowers Edifice realized the seriousness of the situation. Pill King Hall's poison was out of control, so they cut off their supply of Bodhi Jade sap. This enraged Pill King Hall and the houses became bitter enemies ever since. Until 100 years ago, the Pill King Hall kept harassing Drifting Flowers Edifice and killing 8 overseers with rainbow cloud palm. Not even the lords were exempted, with 2 of them falling victim as well. The imperial family turned a blind eye to their feud. How could they not? Pill King Hall was supplying them with pills. It got to the point where Pill King Hall drove Drifting Flowers Edifice close to destruction several times. One thing had to be said. When there's a will, there's a way. In Drifting Flowers Edifice's hour of most desperate need, a strange woman stepped up, Chu Bijun. She was none other than the living dead laying in the ancient ice. Not only was she strong, she was also wise. On one hand, she repelled Pill King Hall's attacks, and on the other, connected with the other houses through marriage, expanding their power. This had led to Pill King Hall to suffer countless and heavy defeats over the last century. Everyone in the 7 houses had to admire this woman's skill. They all came to the realization that without her, there would have been no Drifting Flowers Edifice today. Even Pill King Hall had to admire her. The people came to call her the Lady of Steel, while the disciples of Drifting Flowers Edifice called her grandmother. She was by no means the edifice lord, but she assisted 3 generations of them, holding Drifting Flowers Edifice strong. It was a pity the Lady of Steel ended up falling in an enemy's ploy. A decade ago, vicious Pill King had 3 overseers under his control. They betrayed the house and called out for help. Chu Bijun went to their rescue, only to fall into their trap. Heavily wounded and poisoned by the rainbow cloud palm, she still managed to escape their encirclement. They always thought Pill King Hall was behind this, but now they knew it was Regent Estate all along. Her state was very precarious on her return, with but 1 breath away from death. In this moment of impending demise, she made a bold and radical decision. To make Chu King Cheng the edifice lord, passing on the mantle to a mere 13-year-old girl, with Iris and Peony overseers at her side. This decision earned disapproval among many overseers, but they could only bear it in silence before the might of their grandmother. In light of what happened, Chu King Cheng's most trusted allies were the Iris and Peony overseers. With time, people started to think grandmother was dead, when in fact Aunt Tao froze her on her last breath and had turned her into a living dead. This ended the sorrowful history of Drifting Flowers Edifice. Chu King Cheng dabbed her eyes and recalled those times as she looked at grandmother. Aunt Tao was looking stern at Zhuo Fan. "Kid, did you get all of it?" Zhuo Fan nodded. "Yes, good. Now you will be the next one to pass it on. The Drifting Flowers Edifice will never die as long as someone remembers it." She laughed and helped Zhu up before he joined his and Chu Qingcheng's delicate hands together, just for a few days. Take care, Aunt Tao walked towards the cave wall and entered contemplation. Zhuo Fan was about to ask for clarification when Chu Qingcheng pulled him before the grandmother. She bowed again and left without turning around. With a rumble, the stone door closed and the array started again. Sister Chuchu, what is going on? Zhuo Fan asked, puzzled. He didn't understand why Chu Qingcheng prevented him from speaking and brought him to listen to their history. Chu Qingcheng shook her head and showed a rare but warm smile. From now on, call me just Chuchu or Qingcheng. Zhuo Fan blinked. He was clueless to what Chuchu meant, but her gaze evoked something foreign in his heart. Silly, Chu Qingcheng pulled his hand as she continued. You are now one of us. Come, I will take you to see the members of my family. Chu Qingcheng took Zhuo Fan to a barren hill. 3 lonely graves struck a dreadful image in the midst of harsh and cruel winds. They are my parents and my younger brother, Chu Qingcheng sighed. Zhuo Fan noticed that the graves had written on them, beloved mother, beloved father. However, the foremost one was a blank slab with a black cloak fluttering on it. On a closer look, there were some words on the cloak, heaven-toppling pill. Such audacious words, Zhuo Fan cried. Every cultivator knew that alchemy was a wide and long-winding road. Even if you invested all your energy in it, you'd only pick up a few things along the way. What's more, refining skills abided by heaven's laws. How arrogant could one be to say the words, heaven-toppling pill? Not even that narrow-minded vicious pill king would dare utter such a thing. He turned puzzled to Chu Qingcheng, who replied with a warm smile, You must find them self-centered, right? Zhuo Fan nodded. Chu Qingcheng walked to the grave and caressed the cloak. This is my younger brother, Chu Qingshan. And this cloak is something I made for him. Chu Qingshan. Zhuo Fan's raised an eyebrow as he recalled. Wasn't he the spy sent by Drifting Flower's edifice to the vicious pill king? It turns out to be her brother, but sending her own brother as a spy. Seems Drifting Flower's edifice has run out of talents. Zhuo Fan smacked his lips. Song Yu, Chu Qingcheng turned to him with a soft gaze, catching him by surprise. Did you know? When you gave me fruits in the slums, when you fought for my sake, I saw Qingshan in you, especially when you fought Yan Fu. Your reckless and stubborn nature is his spitting image. Chu Qingcheng had tears glistening in her eyes, recalling the past. Zhuo Fan blushed from shame. He always thought he got close to Chu Qingcheng thanks to Dong Tianba's skirt-chasing skills. It turned out he was only a substitute for her brother. Embarrassed, Zhuo Fan muttered, So Sister Chuchu took me for your little brother. Glaring at him, Chu Qingcheng reproached, I told you to stop saying sister. Did you forget? Zhuo Fan was baffled. A substitute little brother can't call you sister. Chu Qingcheng noticed his reaction and shook her head. Perhaps I did consider you as my younger brother at first, but after today, Chu Qingcheng's blushed and muttered, Now you aren't my little brother anymore. She digressed so badly that Zhuo Fan had no clue what she was saying. Though it didn't look like she'd explain as she spoke, my parents were normal disciples of Drifting Flower's edifice, which fell from Pill King Hall's poison. From a young age, I and Qingshan vowed revenge. Grandmother found our talent worthy of her attention and taught us herself. However, Qingshan was a man and Drifting Flower's edifice had only one use for such people, marry their disciples and carry on Drifting Flower's edifice forward. Qingshan's refining skill was beyond mere talent. He was unwilling to waste away living like this and defied Drifting Flower's edifice in becoming Pill King Hall's disciple. Wasn't he a spy? How come you used defy? Zhuo Fan interrupted. Chu Qingcheng nodded. You are correct, but we were unaware of the ploy at that time. I even wrote a letter to break all ties with him. Only 3 years later did he return to Drifting Flower's edifice. We then understood this was grandmother's plan all along. He did not abandon his mission and stole the Pill King Hall's Rainbow Cloud Palms antidote formula. Because of Pill King Hall's strict guard, he used a concoction to carve the formula on his back. It would never be visible unless a special liquid was poured on it. You're saying that human skin in the cave is your brother's? Zhuo Fan's heart shuddered. Chu Qingshan went through inhuman lengths for Drifting Flower's edifice. He had to use human skin to take the formula with him. It was obvious how dangerous, how hard this mission was. This also gave Zhuo Fan some plans he could use for the Luo clan. Should I also get some diehards and send them inside the other houses as a contingency? But his plan would have to have far more impact than Drifting Flower's edifices. While Drifting Flower's edifice wasted a decade for a formula, he had greater plots developing in his mind. Like getting his spies in the houses through some special means and reporting their every movement. The 9 Serenities' secret records had a secret art pertaining to demonic cultivators to aid in this endeavor, but it was too cruel. The secret art wasn't used on enemies, but on his own men. He could only harden his heart if he were to handle the 7 houses. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with coldness. Chu Qingcheng continued, oblivious of his reactions. Qingshan's return had everyone excited. With Rainbow Cloud Palm's antidote, we had no reason to fear Pill King Hall. While everyone was eager, Aunt Tao and Qingshan began refining it. However, the formula was too much of an oddity. The overseers who were already poisoned died when taking the refined antidote, while the refiners got poisoned themselves. And your brother died from poison? Heaven can be so cruel to geniuses. Zhuo Fan sighed. That was the truth of it, and he felt close to tears. The antidote was a 7th-grade pill. He was a freak of an alchemy genius to participate in its refining at such a young age. It is truly a pity his life ended so soon. Chu Qingcheng shook her head, eyes downcast. No, he was killed by the other overseers. What, but didn't he earn great merit? Why? Zhuo Fan was startled but soon figured it out. Who is the most unfortunate in this world, the nameless hero? Why, ha ha ha, because neither side got what they wanted. Chu Qingcheng confirmed it. My other sisters suspected him as being Pill King Hall's spy, that he brought a fake formula to ruin the house. They took advantage of me, Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer's absence, and beat him to death. This is Drifting Flowers Edifice's shame. We had no choice but to say he died from poisoning. While Aunt Tao still believed the formula is real, studying it painstakingly, tears fell from Chu Qingcheng's eyes. Zhuo Fan wanted to comfort her, but she waved her hand to refuse, stopping him in his tracks. Because Qingshan's body was in such condition, I could only bury him here. I was afraid he would be cursed and reviled, so I didn't leave his name behind. Later, I moved my parents' graves to have them reunited here. Chu Qingcheng pulled Zhuo Fan's hand into kowtowing 3 times before the graves. Song Yu, when I die, please bring my body here to rest with them. Chu Qingcheng's words were filled with sorrow and sounded very much like a dying wish, leaving Zhuo Fan puzzled. What is she planning? Silly girl, with me here, there's nothing to worry about. Zhuo Fan showed a rare serious expression. Chu Qingcheng was startled. She rarely saw the stubborn Zhuo Fan display any semblance of reliability like right now. She soon rolled her eyes. You are never satisfied, are you? I told you to call me by my name, and now you dare call me silly. Ha ha ha. Bro Dong said this will bring women a feeling of safety. What, you don't like it? Zhuo Fan scratched his head, playing the fool. She glared at him. That brother of yours is a wastrel. Stay away from him. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Now follow me to the last place. After seeing grandmother and paying respects to her family, Chu Qingcheng took the cloak and pulled Zhuo Fan as she soared. 15 minutes later, they were at a familiar place. Zhuo Fan was amazed to find this place was the slums where they first met. Because of the Scourge woman, none dared to get close. Why are we here again? Zhuo Fan was baffled. Right, why is the great edifice lord hiding here as a Scourge woman? Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath. I had no choice. Enraged by what happened to Qingshan, I went to Yansong to settle the score, only to be wounded and poisoned as well. I didn't let anyone know this, afraid of affecting Drifting Flowers Edifice's stability. I claimed to enter seclusion when in fact, I have been using the moon's yin power to suppress the poison. This was how I came to be known as a Scourge woman. Zhuo Fan nodded and Chu Qingcheng suddenly draped the black cloak on his shoulders. Zhuo Fan looked at her, startled. Chu Qingcheng smiled. Song Yu, I don't have much time. I hope you can take Qingshan's place, letting me feel the warmth of a family. Ha ha ha, so I'm still your brother in the end. Zhuo Fan laughed in spite of himself. Bam. Suddenly, Chu Qingcheng embraced his broad back and closed her eyes. Zhuo Fan was startled and did not continue to speak. I told you, you are not my brother. Just let me feel the warmth of a family one last time. Chu Qingcheng stared into his eyes. She hesitated before removing her veil. Her outstanding beauty was once again revealed to him, making his heart freeze. He was plunged into a daze a second time, despite seeing her once already. Chu Qingcheng noticed, and a hit of red colored her cheeks. Song Yu, Qingshan told me my smile can topple cities. His pill can topple heaven. I hope you will let me relive our short, warm memories together. Star Reader. Qingcheng equals city toppling. Star Reader. Qingshan equals heaven toppling. Zhuo Fan could not even process her words. He was too confused and lost, only nodding unconsciously. Chu Qingcheng showed a smile of gratitude. Thank you. The two began experiencing the lives of a man and a woman in a quiet and decrepit house. They were like average people, with Zhuo Fan repairing the house and Chu Qingcheng washing and cooking before eating together. The following 3 days, Zhuo Fan never felt so at peace. He would have never thought it possible before. How could the grand demonic emperor live his days in such a vile way? Yet these days were spent without any bit of worry or remorse, as if he was living a dream. Unfortunately, this was an act that fell in a pair of vicious eyes hiding in the darkness. He was a profound heaven expert. The figure left and soon arrived at Drifting Flowers Edifice's guest rooms. He quietly entered one that was filled with people. Vicious Pill King, Mary Woods' Lin Zishan, Hell Valley's 5th elder were all here. and leading them was none other than Regent Estate's second young master, Huonpu Qingyun. The figure whispered in the second young master's ear. Bam! The teacup in his hand was shattered into pieces. Huonpu Qingyun was enraged. Second young master, what happened? Vicious Pill King asked. Clenching his fists, Huonpu Qingyun spat, that bitch took off her veil for that punk. Huonpu Qingyun ran out, flying straight to the slums. A morning ray of warmth spilled into the house onto Zhuo Fan's peaceful face. His eyelids trembled and he smiled, looking at the person in his arms. He and Chu Qingcheng lived their days in peace like a game of house. They twirled by day and rested in the same bed by night. Although nothing happened, they leaned on each other, giving a sense of peace to both. Zhuo Fan, who was a ruthless demon, never stumbled upon such feelings before. Perhaps this is the warmth of a family. Zhuo Fan watched the beauty in his arms absent-mindedly. Chu Qingcheng's appearance could incite wars. As the saying went, a woman was a hero's downfall. He has experienced this firsthand. Living a peaceful life with Chu Qingcheng was all that was on his mind right now. What's the point of rising to the top? What's the point of ruling the world? How can it compare to beauty's smile? Perhaps this is what they call to fall from grace. But so what? I am willing to fall, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan laughed inside. The ever-unchanging demonic emperor was wavering. He gazed at Chu Qingcheng resting on his chest. Zhuo Fan couldn't help but want to lean in for a kiss. Whoosh! Suddenly, Chu Qingcheng opened her eyes and threw them out of the house. Bam! The house went up in flames, turning into ashes in an instant. From the rising ashes, a figure emerged, the outraged Huonpu Qingyun. The fire in his eyes burned even hotter when he saw Chu Qingcheng and Zhuo Fan holding hands. Man, I just fixed the house. Huonpu Qingyun was angry, Zhuo Fan was pissed. This was his and Chu Qingcheng's quiet home. And it barely lasted a couple of days before it went up in smoke. Son of a bitch, you've gone too far, you take me for a meek lamb. These days of peace and quiet seemed to have gone to his head. It made him forget he was acting as Song Yu. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He took a step forward, ready to get Huonpu Qingyun acquainted with pain. But Chu Qingcheng blocked him and whispered, Song Yu, stay behind me. Finally realizing what he was about to do, Zhuo Fan relaxed his fists. He couldn't step in now, or Regent Estate would have an excuse to move against Drifting Flower's edifice and ruin all his plans. These days have been so relaxing that I forgot about the bigger picture. Zhuo Fan cursed inside, then sighed, Qingcheng, I will leave it to you. Qingcheng, it only worked to inflame Huonpu Qingyun's anger. You're on a first-name basis now, like a cheating couple. I will make sure you will die miserably today. Huonpu Qingyun, watch your mouth. Who's a cheating couple? Chu Qingcheng glared. Humph, you're asking me. Chu Qingcheng, even when we settled on the agreement, you did not once remove your veil for me. Yet now you just let a damn punk see you first. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were cold. Huonpu Qingyun, you're the one who broke our agreement first. Why would I ever show you my face? Hold on, you lost me there. Zhuo Fan stepped in. You are so petty. She only lifted her veil and you want to kill me. Even with Qingcheng as your childhood sweetheart, you only don't wish for anyone to have a look at her appearing. Your reaction is uncalled for. It is not like I steal your wife or something. As the saying went, silence was golden. Huonpu Qingyun was now an explosive, ready to blow. Rotten punk, you dare feign ignorance. You're dead, you hear? Huonpu Qingyun punched despite being 300 meters away. Nonetheless, a golden light flew from his fist and arrived in a blink. Zhuo Fan's heart froze. The body refining art he used could not be compared to Zhuo Fan's secret refining art, but was top-notch nonetheless. In normal cases, a profound heaven expert killing a bone-tempering cultivator was an easy feat. However, the distance had to be a bit smaller, or the yuan qi would fade before it could pass through a bone-tempering expert's tough body. Yet this light was different. Zhuo Fan was certain this attack would have nailed your average bone-tempering expert. Then again, he wasn't your average one either and could handle it. Zhuo Fan made some guesses, and even with this advantage, he knew his odds of winning were decent if he were to fight. He dispatched the third layer of Profound Heaven Stage Yu-Giki with ease. Yet currently, he felt like he was going to have a hard time against this second layer expert. It spoke volumes of the Regent Estate's strength. Watch out, Chu Qingcheng pulled Zhuo Fan 10 meters away, dodging the light. He heard a boom and looked to see a 30-meter large stone pulverized. Chu Qingcheng was flustered. She knew Huonpu Qingyun was strong, but not to this extent. Her expression was grave. Humph, Qingcheng, did you see that? That punk only knows how to hide behind your skirt. When danger comes, you always have to protect him in the end. Such a man is unworthy of you. Huonpu Qingyun snorted. Chu Qingcheng raised her head high and, this is what I desire. Aren't most of the Drifting Flowers edifices men all like this? Qingcheng, I don't mean to argue, but I don't hide behind women. Zhuo Fan's voice was quite naive, but this was something he could not let go. He needed to make a point here. He was none other than the demonic emperor. His name was at stake. Even if he was in a disguise, this was a matter of pride and he couldn't get sloppy in times like these. Glaring at him, Chu Qingcheng lashed, "Zip it, no one was talking to you. Ha ha ha, well said. If you call yourself a man, then don't freaking hide behind a woman. Come out and face me alone." Huangpu Qingyun gave a taunting laughter. Zhuo Fan's eyes went cold, staring at him with killing intent, though he didn't let it get to him. "We will fight, don't you worry, but not today. There's no harm in killing you 2 days later." The two watched him in shock, and even Chu Qingcheng looked at him funny. What gave this brat the nerve to speak so boldly? Huangpu Qingyun was in the second layer of Profound Heaven stage and a body cultivator. Yet he was just a second layer of bone-tempering cultivator from a third-rate clan. The gap could not be bigger. Though his eyes spoke how confident he was of turning this threat into reality. "Ha ha ha, perfect." Huangpu Qingyun was laughing from anger. He didn't expect a day would come when a nobody would predict his death. It was utterly ridiculous. This punk must have lived in a cave and knows nothing of Regent Estate's power. I just displayed my power, yet he still dares speak with such nerve. No need to wait, I will squeeze the life out of you right now. In the wake of Huangpu Qingyun's words, he leaped at Zhuo Fan. Chu Qingcheng held Zhuo Fan behind her in concern and had her other hand struck forward. Bam! Huangpu Qingyun's advance stopped, his fist was covered in ice, while Chu Qingcheng flew 20 meters, leaving a trail of blood. "Humph Qingcheng, for a brat you even dared to use the arcane moon art to block me." Huangpu Qingyun flicked the ice on his hand away. "You only have yourself to blame for what is about to happen." Roaring, Huangpu Qingyun stomped his feet and a golden light enveloped his body. There was even a faint golden dragon above his head. With a faint dragon roar, 6 golden dragons wound around his body. Dragon vein body refining, Zhuo Fan finally got to know the source of his body's power. He trained his body with the essence of dragon veins. Every dragon vein held the essence of earth. The power of earth was unshakable, lofty, and tough. Refining his body with this essence was like turning one's body into a mountain, holding both power and stability. Speaking of Huangpu Qingyun's body refining method, it was another path leading to the same result as his own. Zhuo Fan's body was cast using the blood of the earth, diamond, sand. It was made with a great deal of earth essence. Both of them held similar bodies, but there were some disparities. While Zhuo Fan was a living weapon, Huangpu Qingyun was half human, half weapon. The gap was small, but will be magnified as one's cultivation increased. Chu Qingcheng cried in panic. Regent Estate's profound ranked martial art, golden tyrant body art. He, Qingcheng, I told you not to shield this punk with your life. Huangpu Qingyun charged at Zhuo Fan. Chu Qingcheng's palms danced. Tens of white ribbons flew at Huangpu Qingyun and encased him like a mummy. Yet the next moment they were ripped to shreds and Chu Qingcheng spat blood while recoiling 10 more steps. Huangpu Qingyun's speed wasn't affected in the least. Zhuo Fan clenched his fist, ready to unfold his lightning wings. It seems that I have no choice but to reveal myself and fight this guy to the death. Flowing spaces 9 forms, space rupturing form, purple lightning gold eye, cold jade palm, peony finger. Following many yells, 4 attacks of great power descended. They were composed of purple lightning, lofty sword intent, a deep chilling wind, and a deep yet flexible power. They hammered Huangpu Qingyun and forced him to withdraw 3 steps as 4 figures stood in front of Zhuo Fan and Chu Qingcheng. Giant Suifeng, Long Jiu, Iris Overseer, and Peony Overseer. The Overseers rushed to Chu Qingcheng and checked her wounds, while the first 2 were on high alert for any of Huangpu Qingyun's sudden movements. When the dust settled, Huangpu Qingyun had a frosty expression, but unharmed in any way. This caused a great deal of shock. The 4 elders used their most masterful skills against Huangpu Qingyun. But even though they lacked the intent to kill, he had no damage whatsoever, not even a bruise or a cut. This only worked to put them on guard. No wonder Regent Estate's golden tyrant body art was the strongest of the 7 houses. "This is monstrous." Whoosh, 3 more figures landed. Vicious Pill King, Lin Zishan, and Hell Valley's 5th elder next to Huangpu Qingyun. They took a glance at the situation and could guess what happened. He, such gall you have to strike the second young master." Vicious Pill King laughed coldly, taking advantage of the occasion to sow chaos. "If you want to fight, we will gladly entertain you." Lin Zishan and 5th elder exchanged glances, then looked at Huangpu Qingyun. They had no choice but to bear through this. Not stepping forth now was getting on the Regent Estate's bad side. With shivering hearts, Long Jiu's group looked at each other with determination on their faces. Huangpu Qingyun was bad enough, but now that the other 3 showed up, it would be hard to come out on top in this battle. In an instant, Long Jiu and Jian Suifeng looked at Zhuo Fan without even realizing it. Zhuo Fan had Yugiki's killing under his belt. He was both brave and devious. The most dependable man here weren't they, the elders, but him. Squinting, Zhuo Fan locked his eyes on Vicious Pill King. If battle erupted, Vicious Pill King posed the biggest threat. Long Ju and the others would suffer at this old dog's poisonous tricks. Before anything happened, he had to remove this danger from the equation. This may diverge from Zhuo Fan's original plan, but things kept coming one after the other. Who knew it would come to this? I have no choice but to be firm with my decisions and get rid of this headache first. Zhuo Fan slowly moved, boring into Vicious Pill King with killing intent. Yan Song was in the dark regarding Zhuo Fan's threat. Killing him would be easy when his guard was down. Jian Suifeng and Long Ju noticed his eyes and understood he came to a decision. Trading blows here was the same as falling out with Regent Estate and the other 3 houses. The 7 houses' war would erupt. None of them could see if this was a fortune or disaster for their house. What they did know was that the die was cast and they had to strike. Hold on. Huangpu Qingyun shouted to stop everyone in place, and he looked at Chu Qingcheng. Qingcheng, think this through. Are you going to side with them? Chu Qingcheng wiped the blood from her mouth and stepped in front of the others. She turned to Zhuo Fan, then the black cloak, and her eyes steeled. Yes, I have never been more certain. Fine, be that way. I wish you all a long life. Huangpu Qingyun spat the last 2 words with thick sarcasm, evident of the rancor and curses running through his head. He said his piece and left with his group. As they passed by Zhuo Fan, he gave a laughter seeping with contempt. Punk, Drifting Flowers edifice never had males, are you? Ha ha ha. Hold up, where did you get that idea? Zhuo Fan raised a taunting eyebrow. Wasn't Chu Qingchen a man? His actions were foolish, true, but he was a man through and through. He hid for a decade for Drifting Flowers edifice, only to die at Drifting Flowers edifice's hands. Yet this pitiful hero was now viewed as a black stain. Zhuo Fan didn't condone such idiotic behavior. Why would anyone throw away their lives for a bunch of broads who treated men like nothing more than tools, only using them to secure their little sanctuary? That was no mere idiocy, but downright madness. However, his loyalty was praiseworthy even in Zhuo Fan's eyes. If he was truly a man, it would have been best if he stuck to sleeping with women, ha ha ha. Huangpu Qingyun mocked, loathing displayed on his face. Vicious Pill King snickered at Zhuo Fan, making it obvious he was speaking to everyone present. Chu Qingchen was once my disciple. To be honest, his alchemy skill was top-notch, but he was too blinded by pride, holding everyone beneath him. He was a helpless dreamer, believing he alone was enough to refine the antidote and cure Drifting Flowers edifice. The results speak for itself. He is more of a fool than anybody else. Vicious Pill King walked away, pleased after seeing Chu Qingcheng clenching her fists, but still couldn't help pouring more salt on the wound. This is a world of men and wisdom. Fools and women that dare covet it will only get burnt. Damn that Vicious Pill King. Long Ju knew the ins and out of the situation, and his lone eyes flickered in rage. He looked back at Chu Qingcheng to see her trembling in anger. Long Ju shook his head and whispered to Zhuo Fan, "Little brother, talk to Chuchu about the alliance between us 3 houses." "No need." Zhuo Fan's eyes flickered with coldness and spoke, eyeing the departing group. "That is your matter. What I want is to make that insufferable guy know the true meaning of being a man." Long Ju's heart seized. He opened his mouth many times, but Zhuo Fan's unfeeling face stopped him. He never saw Zhuo Fan looking so scary before. When Huangpu Qingyun's group got back to Drifting Flowers edifice's guest rooms, the Vicious Pill King asked, "Second young master, why did you let them go?" "We were more than enough to deal with them." "Fool," Huangpu Qingyun berated, "killing them is easy, but what then? It will incite war among the 7 houses. Even if we win, we will have to pay a heavy price for it." "Second young master, why do you say that?" the others asked. Huangpu Qingyun laughed mockingly and said, "Don't forget, Tianyu holds not just the 7 noble houses, but the 4 pillars." His voice drifted off, but everyone was clear. So Regent Estate's ambition was to reach such a height. In any case, Drifting Flowers edifice is already close to fall. Don't mind those cornered dogs. As for Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis abode, humph, I am now certain they are opposing us. We would have had to deal with them sooner or later. Brilliant second young master, they all bowed, but each thought differently. Pill King Hall had long surrendered, while Hell Valley was grinning at his enemy's predicament. Veiled Dragon Pavilion kicked an iron board this time. As for Mary Woods' Lin Zishan, he was an opportunist. Seeing others bowing, he did the same to avoid trouble befalling on his head. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan walked out of Drifting Flowers edifice's guest room and sighed towards the sun. Yesterday, he was caught up in his own delusion. He thought the world was made of just he and Chu Qingcheng, where the others mattered little. Today, he re-entered the mortal world and shook his head out of regret. If not for Huangpu Qingyun's disturbance, I would have still been with Chu Qingcheng in that quaint house as nothing but simple farmers. But even without yesterday's event, he would have only one day until the 100-pill meeting, where he had to put his plan in motion. His future didn't lay in that quiet farmhouse. I am but a simple worker, Zhuo Fan sighed at the sky. A white figure suddenly landed Chu Qingcheng, but before he could scream, she took him into the air. Come with me. An hour later, they landed in the slums again, but they weren't the only ones there this time. There were the Dong siblings and Zhao Dandan. Zhuo Fan was puzzled as to what it was about. Chu Qingcheng giggled, you visited grandmother and my family. Now it's only reasonable that I visit your parents, but it's a way off and can only see your friends for now. Chu Qingcheng pulled Zhuo Fan and invited the others into a small rundown house. Zhao Dandan was dumbstruck. Why is Edifice Lord with him here? She accomplished her master's order by bringing the Dong siblings here, where in fact they were meeting with Edifice Lord. While she was dumbstruck, the Dong siblings were floored. Meeting the evil Zhao Dandan first thing in the morning, they thought Drifting Flowers Edifice was about to settle the score with them and were on edge the whole way here. But seeing Edifice Lord holding hands with his brother, their whole world collapsed. Just how did Song Yu do it? How did a third-rate clan young master end up with the leader of one of the 7 noble houses, Drifting Flowers Edifice, the #1 beauty in Tianyu, Chu Qingcheng? Sister, I often told you, you should have caught him first. Now all hope is lost. Dong Tianba stared at the couple in a daze. Dong Xiaoan lamented inside, not expecting this to happen. How could I have known brother Song Yu and Drifting Flowers Edifice's lord would have become an item? While they were bitter, Zhao Dandan felt like crying. She finally found herself a worthy man only to have her boss become her love rival. What could she possibly do now? The three were now more bitter than ever. Sit down and relax. Many delicacies had already been laid on a worn and old table, courtesy of Chu Qingcheng's cooking. She was still hiding her face behind the veil, but her every gesture and elegant demeanor made her seem like the perfect wife. Her tone was neither haughty nor overbearing. She acted just like any ordinary young wife receiving faraway guests. The trio stiffly took seats. They had Chu Qingcheng's invitation, but this does not mean that their heart was at ease. On the contrary, Zhuo Fan was feeling right at home after having spent time with Chu Qingcheng the past few days. His movements were casual and frank. He spoke normally like a simple family. Dong Tianba began to envy him. Lil Bro must have had quite the heavenly fortune for Chu Qingcheng to look at him. Zhao Dandan and Dong Xiaoan were staring at him all this time, but Chu Qingcheng's presence left them sour inside. They felt inadequate in front of such a world-class beauty that they lowered their heads. They passed the day in a peaceful and cheerful manner. Once dusk was setting in, Chu Qingcheng sighed, it's getting late and we should part ways. What parting do you speak of when tomorrow's the 100-pill meeting? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Shaking her head in sorrow, Chu Qingcheng pulled his hand and said to the rest, come with me. She walked ahead, with others rushing to catch up. They soon turned to a lonely road where a worn-out carriage stood. That carriage belonged to none other than the Song clan Zhuo Fan reappropriated. There were also 6 people standing close to it, Dong Tianba's 4 elders and the Peony and Iris overseers standing at the front of the group. This caught them by surprise, not understanding what was going on. Go, Chu Qingcheng pointed at the carriage, leave by night and make haste in hiding your clans. You may still have a chance to survive. What's going on? Edifice Lord Chuchu, why are you driving us away? Did we offend you? Dong Tianba cried, so scared his legs were quaking. Chu Qingcheng shook her head. Forgive me, it is not your fault but mine. I didn't want to drag you into this, but Huangpu Qingyun is petty. I fear he will strike you out of spite. Huangpu, the Regent Estate? Dong Tianba was alarmed, on the verge of tears. Why would Regent Estate be involved with us? We did nothing to them. Your Dong clan has not been destroyed, so why are you crying? Zhuo Fan snorted and turned to Chu Qingcheng. What are you planning? Don't do anything stupid. There's still room to turn this around. Chu Qingcheng shook her head and caressed his cheek. I know what I'm doing. Just that I need your help with something. Zhuo Fan eyed her suspiciously. She pulled Zhao Dandan, who was still in shock, and rested her hand in Zhuo Fan's. Please watch over Dandan. She may very well be the last member of our Drifting Flowers Edifice house. Edifice Lord, Zhao Dandan was panicking and Zhuo Fan paled, but before he could speak, Chu Qingcheng stopped them. This is my last wish. You have to do this for me. Chu Qingcheng took her storage ring and gave it to Zhao Dandan. Dandan, take this with you on your journey with Song Yu to his clan, but you can only look inside once you arrive. Take care of your husband and don't be so willful. All right. Zhao Dandan nodded in tears. Peony Overseer found it unbearable as she shouted, it's late, leave quickly. If they find you, you won't get another chance. Dong Tianba didn't understand, but was clear to the danger, rushing inside the carriage with his sister. Zhuo Fan knew Chu Qingcheng wanted to give Drifting Flowers Edifice a chance at revival. He had a plan in mind, but wasn't sure it was foolproof, so he followed Chu Qingcheng's wishes and pulled Zhao Dandan into the carriage. At worst, he'd come back once they were far enough. His firm actions made Peony Overseer filled with anger. Song Yu, look after my disciple, or I will never let you off. Humph, your disciple is big now, she can take care of herself. Zhuo Fan shirked all responsibility and whipped the horses. Peony Overseer stomped her foot in anger, watching the carriage drifting further away. Humph, I told you men aren't reliable. Once he gets wind of trouble, he flees. He jumped in with no hesitation. Chuchu, was it worth entrusting everything to that man? Iris Overseer frowned. Shaking her head, Chu Qingcheng said, aren't all our hopes resting on them leaving safely? What more is there to say? Yet she couldn't fight back the tears, feeling disappointed by Zhuo Fan's last act. We will never see each other again. Can't you at least show some reluctance for the sake of all the precious little time we spent together? But they were unaware what Zhuo Fan was thinking. Their thoughts were completely worlds apart from each other. They took this as a final parting, while Zhuo Fan took it as making a delivery. He'd be dropping off Zhao Dandan to a safe place before running straight back. I'm only a delivery boy and soon will come back running. What final, what parting? Let us return. Tomorrow we have a bitter fight on our hands. Chu Qingcheng took a deep breath to rein in her emotions, then flew back. The overseers were right behind her. Night came, and soon darkness gave way to the sun's rays. Chu Qingcheng stood alone in her room, watching the grandiose building outside. It was the place where the 100-pill meeting was held in their final battle. Chuchu, Iris Overseer, flashed next to her and nodded. Everything's ready. All that's left is for that old dog to come. Good. Chu Qingcheng's eyes flashed with resolve. Drifting Flower's edifice may fall, but that old dog will go down with it. Blood for blood, let's go. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan rode the carriage all night and was now 100 miles out of Drifting Flower's city. He thought it was enough, loosened the reins, and jumped down. All right, you guys leave, I'm going back. Darling, wait, Zhao Dandan cried out from inside. You can't go back. Won't you make Sister Qingcheng's sacrifice in vain? Who's your darling? Don't shout without thinking. Isn't Chu Qingcheng your edifice lord? What a cheeky disciple, calling her sister. Reddening, Zhao Dandan replied coyly, isn't it because you are my husband? Edifice lord has given my hand to you personally, so you are my husband in every sense of the word. And edifice lord is your wife as well. What else can I do but call her sister? What? When did Chu Qingcheng become my wife? Zhuo Fan was floored. Scratching his head, Dong Tianba stuck out of the carriage and sighed, Bro, how are you so slow in the head? Both of you were so close in that broken house that even a blind man could see you two are married. How could you not? What she said should have been an obvious enough hint. Yesterday you visited her family, today she visited your friends. What else could it be if not to show everyone that you two were married? That can't be. I always thought she saw me as her younger brother to relive her old warm memories. How? Zhuo Fan was dumbfounded. He, a demon through and through, with his nose always deep plotting against others, was clueless in matters between a man and a woman. Even if he were to engage in such acts, it would only be a stepping stone for a greater purpose, faking through it all. He had never ever truly experienced romantic love. Zhao Dandan watched Zhuo Fan cautiously as she muttered, Then darling, let me ask you, did you see her face? Don't call me that. Zhuo Fan shook away her approaching hand in loathing, then thought about it. I have twice. Then it is indeed so. Edifice Lord has never married before. If a man were to see her face, she would either kill him off or resign her duty as Edifice Lord and marry him. Zhao Dandan raised an eyebrow. Since husband is safe and sound, it speaks of Sister Chuchu's decision of recognizing you as a husband. Zhuo Fan suddenly recalled the moment he made a sneak attack on Chuchu for her Bodhi Jade sap, only to take her face cover. She was deeply conflicted then. She was hesitating whether to kill me or to marry me. That was way too dangerous. If not for my boyish charm and dashing good looks that no woman on this wide green earth can resist, Chu Qingcheng would have killed me by now. What can I say? I'm too much of a dashing rogue, only matched by my luck. Wait, aren't I song you now? Zhuo Fan's confidence hit rock bottom. At least the kid's pretty face had some use and saved my life. Or maybe it was my wonderful personality that won her over. Zhuo Fan sank in delusions. But what he didn't take into consideration was where exactly did the wonderful part fit a demon like him. Darling, if you still don't believe me, the ring Sister Chuchu gave has to be holding that item. His constant hesitation led Zhao Dandan to defy the task entrusted to her by Chu Qingcheng. She took out the item in the ring, all to justify her position as his wife. After the light dimmed, three things appeared in front of everyone's eyes. One was the black cloak Zhuo Fan already saw, and the second, a small bottle. He also knew this contained the Bodhi Jade sap. He immediately snatched it, overcome with joy. I've run all over the place for this, only to fall so easily in my lap. Ha ha ha, Zhao Dandan said, the Bodhi Jade sap is Sister Qingcheng's dowry. If you take it, then you're accepting Sister Qingcheng and me. Zhao Dandan blushed at the last part. Zhuo Fan was in a daze. After he heard what she said, all smiles were wiped from his face. He was a demonic emperor that had no scruples but never ever owed favors. It would have been better if he had stolen it. Yet the fact remained that it was given to him by someone, along with a free gift attached. If he took it, then he had to accept the gift. But accepting Zhuo Dandan, ha ha ha, sorry. But the first impression I have of you already ruined it for me. I won't be taking you. Now he turned to the third item, a wooden piece of wood with the words "Beloved Wife Chu King Cheng's Memorial Tablet" written on it. Zhuo Fan's eyes squinted and cried, "What is this?" Zhuo Dandan sighed, "I shouldn't be telling you this, but I once heard Master mention that they were ready to fall with the vicious Pill King. Damnation. You think they'll succeed to drag that old geezer down when they couldn't even keep this plan hidden from a mere disciple? Humph, a bunch of foolish women going to their doom." Zhuo Fan rained curses. Then he looked at the Bodhi Jade sap and snickered. He, yours truly does not and will not owe favors. He took the items into his ring and ran towards Drifting Flower City, disappearing from sight. Dong Tianba and the rest were restless. He was a loafer, but not a fool. If the overseers and the Lord were in a bitter fight, didn't that mean Drifting Flowers edifice was the worst place to be right now? Would Zhuo Fan get out alive if he returned? Damn it, Darling won't be able to come back if he goes. We need to go after him. Zhuo Dandan cried. Dong Xian was also anxiously watching her brother, pleading. Dong Tianba gnashed his teeth and ordered, "Let's go. I cannot allow my brother to face dangers alone again."